Welcome to Gearheadz Breakcast with Jasoul and Roman. Where we tap in and dig into culture, and also breaking, and how they interweave. Jay, how you been, man? How's your week? I know you got a huge event that you just came off of. I'm eager to hear. I wasn't able to make it, so I want to hear all about it.
Yeah, man. Hey, thanks for asking. Still processing everything. Still riding on this cloud from this past weekend from the jam. Short answer until we get our next guest, because digging into it, he's a second half of kind of what we're doing with this the All City Youth Breaking League. But yeah, short answer is I'm great. The jam went phenomenal, and this guest that we have actually, we'll wait a little bit for him to talk a little bit more about it. But Roman, you're up early, bro. I'm glad you're starting to wake up early. Great to see you. I know you're not drinking coffee. You're not a coffee guy. Is that coffee?
Water. No.
Yeah,
water.
Man. There you go. Hey, I like that. I got a lot to learn from you too in that sense, but coffee does keep me productive for now. But how you doing, man?
Good, brother. Just trying to overcome the ego day by day. You know what I mean?
Ooh, man. Put that on the title right there.
I like that. Yeah. We're stuck in these like concrete like roles. Like, this is who you are. This is who you got to be, and it's so hard to like break out of that, especially because we got to pay to be human, which is crazy in my mind. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, just waking up early. Definitely the fact that you literally, I already knew this. I just wasn't using it in practicality, but you can have an entire day and then noon hits. You have a whole nother day.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you want to double your productivity? Wake up early. You want to have time for yourself? No one's nagging you? Wake up early.
I can see John laughing in the back because we're dad mode. We've been on that mode, brother.
I hear you. I don't have a kid, not just yet, but so I got hella props, hella respect for you guys. Being dad is easy, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we're dads in a bunch of different ways all throughout life, even when we don't have a physical like seed and child, right? You're the dad and father to your child businessman.
Right.
And we have a lot to talk about that as well. You're a really interesting guy in that sense, like what you're doing with your CBD shop. And yeah, for those of you that don't know, that's how I know Roman as well. It started with business and just getting to know him and talk to him and hearing how he talks about his craft, his passion, and his business, which is CBD, really drew me to him. And yeah, he's kind of been one of my mentors in what I'm doing with BTR Breaking. But anyway, we'll dig into that a little bit later.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't want to keep this guy waiting right here. This guy is one of the busier guys I know in general.
Let's get him
on. Guys, so we're about to get on DJ Deuce Ace from Jimi Hendrix and 9 Doors Down. This guy is a perfect example of taking hip hop and using the tenets and the practice and experiences and the value of that and translating it into real life, into networking, into building community, into what he's doing with real estate. And, he and his wife, they're just a power couple. And I'm so glad to be a part of their community. I've been teaching their kids for, I think, going on 8 or 9 months now. And, we've had semi-deep discussions here and there just from like, picking the kids up and stuff like that. But yeah, recently he came to me and he was like, Jasoul, look, hip hop is for the community, man. And it comes from this interaction and this special connection of the DJ and the breaker, the B-boy, the B-girl. And we got to bring this back. How do we do it? And some of the main barriers that's newer relatively, I mean, hip hop is 50 years old, is everything's a competition, a tournament right now, which is beautiful because that is growing the demographic and the practitioner. But yeah, again, some of the barriers is the cost. And that was kind of his thing, like, hey, let's do it. Like, I want to donate my time. And again, this guy is super busy. For him to say that, I took to it right away. I was like, oh, okay, if this guy's serious, I'm already like planning on doing it, but bringing it back to hip hop, bringing it back to the community, and bringing it back to the youth. He's kind of resurged and reinvigorated my passion on that side of things. But yeah, without further ado, we'll get him on board to talk about this. Everybody meet DJ Deuce Ace.
What up, Deuce?
Peace. What up, Jasoul? Roman.
Peace.
Shout out to Gearheadz, and thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this podcast, man. It's an honor.
Yeah, man. Welcome, brother. Yeah, I mean, just to get right to it, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I did meet you about, again, like 8-9 months ago. You're pretty new to Vegas, which is interesting, considering the community that you managed to build, you and your wife, since you've been here. But yeah, just a little bit about your back history, where you're from, your experience with DJing, and what brought you to Vegas and what you're doing here, man.
Yeah, man. So I was born in Daly City, California, the land of mobile Filipino DJs. But when I was 10, my family and I, we moved to San Lorenzo, which is in the East Bay, just south of Oakland. So we moved out there in 1989, and it was around between 90 and 92 where, growing up in the East Bay, I was fortunate that I was surrounded by all the elements of hip hop, like amongst peers and friends. So, my friends in school, especially going into high school, I mean, I was homies with Gearheadz, other DJs, MCs, and even the B-boys. I remember they would always battle. So the high school I went to was Arroyo High School in San Lorenzo, and they would always be in D Hall during lunchtime battling. And I tried to get into b-boying, but I wasn't that I don't have that rhythmic dexterity with my whole body. With my hands and my head nod, I definitely have that dexterity. So so I grew up in San Lorenzo. I didn't get introduced to DJing until 1994. So this shout out to my boy Spoon, my boy Dre. But anyways, my boy Spoon, he had a pair of 1200s, a Gemini mixer, just a really like a very entry level. And what's the trip was his pops is a Hell's Angel. So
oh damn,
yeah, man. So imagine that, dude.
Valley, huh?
Yeah. So imagine like one of my earlier viewpoints of DJing was in a garage of a Hell's Angel. It's totally, totally juxtaposed, but I mean, we're me and my boy Spoon, we're good friends. He lives out in Bend, Oregon now, but my other homies, Ed, Dre, and my boy Eli, they bought a used set of turntables, belt-driven Geminis. Again, a cheap Gemini mixer. And when they first got it, and it was like an $80 set, and because we're in the Bay Area, we're so heavily influenced by scratching, and so my homies were like, all they did was just scratch right away, right? And because it was brand new to them, like they were still learning the language. That I didn't get drawn into it immediately because I was like, this sounds like chaos. Yeah, I remember. And then one night, maybe about a couple months after they got the turntables, my boy Eli, he showed me the concept of mixing, which is my opinion is the foundation of DJing. Before you can scratch, before you can beat juggle, before you can trick mix, you got to learn how to mix, blend two songs together, keep a party moving. And
sorry to interrupt you real quick. You're already talking on it naturally, but I just want to introduce this to our audience and then also Roman as well. There's this term that turntablism is basically what you're talking about. DJing was probably the first. It came from DJ Kool Herc, in our historical records of where hip hop, originated, and it is from the DJ. It came a long way, and West Coast has its own flavor and did its own part in evolving the art of DJing, which is, I believe, is turntablism. Can you just talk about that? You already are with the scratching, the mixing, and stuff like that, but
yeah. I mean, so just like any element, just like any art form, things start to branch out, right? And so the very when the OGs in New York and the Jamaican sound systems, they were taking two copies. It could be a disco record, it could be a rock record, it could be a funk, but they always had that break. It was, and for those that don't know, for the break, it's like when it's just the drums and it's very bare minimal. So you could take an MC could start rapping over it, or like, hey everybody, throw your hands in the air, wave them around like you just don't care, get that crowd interaction. So the DJ would literally just play like could be a 4-bar loop or an 8-bar loop for like minutes at a time, and then that's how that's how the B-boys and the B-girls they start to get down through the DJ, but just by playing that break. So to think about it, it's kind of like you have a song and then you have a Pandora's box within the song, and then you take that little sample of a Pandora's box, and now it could be whatever the heck you want it to be. That's a cool part about hip hop. You're literally taking something out of nothing, just like the kids in the Bronx. I mean, this art form came out of struggle. It came out of burnt down apartment tenements, just the crack era, even before the crack era, there's just lavish, not even lavish, just like extreme poverty out in the.
Yeah, Roman was talking about that in the pre-show. Actually, it's Roman. That's a great insight on your end. You do come from the East Coast too, so I'm sure. Yeah, you know a good amount of that. But
unfortunately,
hip hop is that. It's about being resourceful, right? So what you're saying, in turntablism, you guys have foundational elements that have infinity. The potential of creating off of it and building and ultimately adding to the culture, because that's why we're here as well, right? That is a responsibility of any cultural practitioner, right? Is to contribute.
The fundamentals it's important, man, because if you get the fundamentals right, you're growing deep roots, and now your branches could go just about any direction it wants. And it's funny because like my kids, I've actually taught them to scratch first before even mixing. But now that Ace, so ironically, man, like last week, he was like, "Dad, I want to learn how to DJ and play the breaks for the b-boys." Like, son, I got you on this. And I was like, we're gonna reverse engineer this, Ace. Like, you've already got he knows how to play the drums, he knows how to play the saxophone. And with me, I'm gonna bring it back to the scratch with him. Not scratch is the wrong word. I'm going to teach him the fundamentals of mixing. I'm not even going to teach him any spin backs or anything. I just want him to match a BPM from one song to another and just have it play seamlessly. And then he'll naturally catch the break of a song, the highs and lows. Like
he's doing it with his breaking already. He's come leaps and bounds, man, with his rhythm, his balance, and his freestyle. Ultimately, I'm super, super stoked on him at where he's at. He's been breaking for about 8 months, and what you're saying when you're saying he wants a DJ, perfect.
Perfect. When we were living in LA, so he was trained by Mighty Zulu Kings, but it was on the poppin' side. It was a little bit of a break-in, right? Because all my homies there were, a lot of Latinos, and I used to be part of a crew called LA Styles. I had my boy Boxy D, who's part of Radiotron. You got Boogie Frantic. I was down there, my boy Detain, who was on the mic, and then I had Mig One on the graffiti. So our shows, it always had four of the elements on the live shows. So this was like 2003 to like 2005, around there. But that connectedness is what I want to expose the youth, and for me, it's like I could begin that with my student, with my students, which happens to be my 3 kids. And what's even doper is like we have a certified coach in Jasoul that I could be hands off with breaking, because I know that their creative wheels are moving, and I'm not forcing them to play a sport. Because I learned my lesson, with my son when I was coaching baseball. Like, I grew up playing baseball, and I was a hard-nosed dude. I love baseball, but I was way too tough on him at when he was like 5, 6, 7 years old. So it kind of turned him off onto baseball. So I learned my lesson as soon as I saw that fire in his eyes for breaking. I was like, I'm pumping the brakes right now. I want to let him explore. So I don't know if you noticed, Jason, but like at practices, a lot of times I purposely just go in the car, or like I'll go to Starbucks, because I want them feeling that they're exploring it on their own.
Yeah, that's so important, man. And that's another topic I definitely would like to dig into, and a very important one as well. The parenting side. We as experienced humans, we know what it takes to actually reach a certain level of sensation with any sport, art, anything that we do, right? It's so hard with a surface, and even just a beginner level understanding of what any type of venture. we're like, oh man, it takes this. Oh man, the discomfort of learning is so real, especially with kids. I experienced it with Kalea. It's a fine line that I too am like, oh hey, do you still like breaking? Because this is my life, this is my job. I teach 7 days a week, so I'm bringing her with me a lot of the times, and I want to make sure because she has her own style already. She has her own kind of thing with it, which is dope. But the burnout,
That's
yeah,
a fine line. We have to be
line.
very sensitive of that with our
Yeah.
kids. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because more importantly, like we want them to be safe and feel that they can explore on their own. Like I feel like if you let them explore on their own, they're gonna find their own love and their own passion for it. Not because mommy and daddy, told me about it. I'll always expose them. Like when they're in the house, like I got beats playing all the time. I'm cutting, but
Oh, bro, yeah. The
that's
videos
just
you guys do too, man. It's so awesome, man.
yeah. So if you just expose them, the kids, a lot of people, a lot of adults think they're like, oh, kids, they don't really pay attention, but they have short synapses and they retain so much information in just those 3 to 7 minute interaction of whatever sport, art activity it is.
I think
Yeah.
it was across the board. You know what I mean? Like us three, we're just three big kids.
Straight up.
Like,
But again, but we're big kids, so we we're encouraging them to be kids, but we're like, hey, we've seen the other side of what discipline, dedication can bring you, and if it can click, or we can get them on that fast track, that's what we want as parents. That's our duty, and that's our job, is to eliminate as much friction and or I guess not all the friction. There's learning points in a lot of the stuff that we do, but we want to make it easy for them so they can evolve. They can be better than us. I keep
have their
telling my
own
daughter,
style.
yeah, I'm like, hey, I'm not telling you this because I feel good about making you have to work hard and be uncomfortable, but I'm doing this because yeah, your duty is to become great and better than me, right, because we have the learning lessons and they don't have to go through that. That is a mindset that again, it's I don't think there's a straight line for parenting, and yeah, for me it takes communication, but I'm always going to push. I'm going to be like, hey, look, you want it, right? Because if you want it, this can happen. That's only if you want it, though. Do you want it? Because I can show you, but it's up to you, type stuff.
Yeah, it's up to them to take the sacrifice.
Yeah. I think that touches on that topic that we were talking about earlier, Jay. Like, Deuce, I was talking to him, and I was like you just touched on the freedom, like that you want to give your kid. Like, if anything, they have way more freedom than we do. You know what I mean? Like, I told him, I'm like, the lack of ego for a little kid to go on the dance floor and, like let's just say some of them don't really know like specific moves and they're kind of flailing or they're kicking their legs everywhere, but I didn't see any worry of like, what are my friends going to say? What do people think about me throwing my hands like this? Where as an adult, how many, like I worked at the clubs, bro, like at Excess, Encore Beach Club, Surrender, like, you know how many people stand on the dance floor like this?
Yeah, as adults.
As adults, and then maybe as adults that are dropping 5,000, 3,000.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, you're going to drop 3,000 and be miserable? Why? Stay at home, order pizza, do whatever you got to do.
And that's not even the worst part, is like going there and standing. The worst part is the ones that do dance, what they have to do to their chemicals and to their body to get into the point where they can connect and they can express and they can move freely.
Drink and,
they're taking drugs, they're drinking, and nothing against that in itself, but I mean, you've seen it. You're at these clubs, Vegas, you see
years, yeah,
the scum of the scum.
Yeah, for sure. Let's just say it's like staying up late brings out not the best qualities in people, but I'll tell you what, in almost every club that I've been to, there's always a group of like local poppers or dancers or whatever, and they always create their own little area on the dance floor because it's free. You don't have to get a separate table. You don't got to pay money. You just be yourself around your friends. But they're some of the few people that always have fun, and they create their own cipher. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On the dance floor, and you'll have people that spent the $5K leave their table and bring a drink over to the cipher and be like, yo, do you want a drink? Can I
More
drink?
fun.
Yeah, like I know I'm spending $5K. I have a table. Do you want to come over? And dancers are like, nah, we're jamming right here. He's like, can I join you guys? You know?
Yeah, it's that community connection and that soul. Like in hip hop, there's so much soul involved, and when you connect with other creators,
Mhm.
that's when it's magical because you don't know what's gonna come out.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, man. Um, I did want to transition. I know Jay, like, you know, just had the event. Maybe I'd love to get your point of view of like the youth breaking league. You know, we all heard the things like Trick love the kids, right? Like youth is everything. You know what I mean? And that's why most companies even want to market to them, especially ones that are not in like a regulated industry, because those people will grow up to be consumers. The fact that your kid is starting breaking and you're exposing him to those different things, dude, he might be able to create certain type of mixes that go with his own style of breaking. And that's what we were talking about before. Like, how can you evolve the culture of breaking and the industry itself, if not by looking what other people are doing it, incorporating a little bit, and then running with it. I know, you know, Jay has a strong, you know, belief that you definitely should credit, you know, to where you got it from. But I think it's so hard if millions of people are looking and watching. Like, I'd love to hear you touch on just the how the industry of breaking is growing in your opinion, and then what you thought of the event itself from your
Yeah,
as a
I think I'll have a perspective from an outside layer of like your guys' world, like it's coming from a DJ.
Mhm.
And I know, you know, the Olympics definitely had a lot to do with it, you know, so there's a lot of excitement behind it. And ironically, I didn't even know about it becoming a sport until I actually met Jay.
Sure, sure.
And I
We only
think,
found out like a year and a half ago, I think. 2 years.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, the temptation with like social media and just like the internet, like it's so easy for anyone, let alone kids, to get attracted to great information and then also get attracted to that dark and evil frequency, right?
Yep.
But I
Low
think I think with hip hop, like, so I'm you know, I got down with Universal Zulu Nation Gateway chapter out in San Jose by my Aki DJ Havoc from the world famous Beat Junkies. And I may not be active in UZN anymore, but I carry the tenets, which is like peace, love, unity, understanding, knowledge, and having fun into everything that I do. And the most important thing is just is to have fun. If a kid could train with Jay or any of these other amazing schools that's out here in Vegas, and they happen to like maybe get into the Olympics later down the road, or they get some paid gigs out of it, great. Hey man, that's take advantage of the fruit while it's there. But
Yep.
I want the kids to know that it's more important to get down for the sake of your soul and your sense of freedom and your artistic expression, because I feel like if you're truly doing a craft and have true passion behind it, money will eventually come, whether it's needed or not. But that's why you can't fake the funk in hip hop. Like you could always tell the toys from the dudes that are dope, and the dope ones always seem to be the most humble people. They like to share the information. They don't really hold anything back. If this was like 20 years ago as a DJ, I would cover up my record labels because I
Mhm.
don't want other DJs to know the songs that I was playing like at a certain party. But these days, with the age of information, I want to pass on any information that I know, any type of knowledge, so that way a kid or another adult could latch onto it, learn from it, learn the fundamentals. But once they get that, now they get to branch out and grow. And then next thing you know, I'm gonna be learning from them. I'm gonna be learning their style, their own flavor, their own funk, and
100.
it's just that constant energy flow.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. People say, you know, the 10,000 hours thing.
Yeah, to master your craft.
After a little while, like I watched a couple like movies that were like cult classics. Like there's one called Burnt, and he, as a penance for getting over a drug addiction and all that kind of stuff, he goes to New Orleans and has to shuck 1,000,000 oysters, and that's his like 10,000 hours. But dude, honestly, more and more I'm seeing that doing the 10,000 hours, learning the 10,000 hours is just half the battle. if you're teaching 10,000 hours, you can become a master. It's going to be very rare. Like, you have to be gifted to just learn something for 10,000 hours, and that's enough. When you're teaching, you're literally teaching someone, and in front of you, a different version of yourself is doing something, and you're going, yo, that's dope. Like, okay, I could never see myself from outside myself, and I'm like, whoa, that's a huge pickup right there.
I mean, that's why big ups to Jasoul, man. Like being a teacher, you're learning about teaching, you're learning about yourself, you're learning about your knowledge that and so I can only imagine some of the lessons Jason has had while teaching kids.
Oh, for sure,
because it's constant.
Oh man, yeah. Honestly, I learn more than I'm giving, to be honest. I mean, the age range, the social side of it, the psychological, like, the different phases. I teach from 4 until mainly 13. I teach adults as well and teens, but that's the majority of my student base. So we're getting them at the age when, they are just introducing themselves and experiencing socialization, coming from the homes, right? When we talk 4 to 5 years old. And then after that, I mean, they still believe they're superheroes until about 8, 9, with video games, even a little later now. Those are the ones that really have fun with what we're doing. Roman, you mentioned like seeing these kids come in and they're just like no ego.
They're free.
Yeah, they're free, right? That's what we're seeing. These kids,
I'm jealous.
Yo, like me and my homies, like we have a term. Like, I mean, shout out to Qbert and DJ Aladdin for this term, but I first heard of this term back in ScratchCon 2000. And it was Qbert describing DJ Aladdin's style, right? And it was called the DGAF style, which is don't give a F style, right? Those kids on Saturday had that DJAF style, man. They went in and you could tell they were kind of nervous and timid, but as soon as like they got in and started engaging, their personalities came out. You don't see that in a lot of adults. And for kids, they have a lot of courage to go in there and just to be themselves and express like how they're feeling through dance, and that it was so magical.
And I mean, even their reactions, man. Like what's that called when you like slide up to somebody after doing a move?
I mean, it's just engaging your opponent. If it's it depends on when you do it. I think you're referring.
If someone comes up to you and right in your face and they lift their hands, like
it's a call out. It's like, hey, this is for you. So breaking comes from what's called the one-ups in hip hop in general. And this, the roots of that is, it's a natural tendency for certain personality types that understand that they have something better. And one of the ways that we potentiate ourselves is through competition in general as humans, right? But yeah, I mean, it's calling somebody out that you think looks similar to you, that you think that they think they're better than you. There's a psychology to it. So you're like, oh, okay, the way this guy is acting in the circle, the way he's pacing around, the way he's dressed, the way he looks, I'm gonna call him out. So it's like letting the person know. And all movement, like what we spoke about, is communication. So when you go up to somebody and you gesture them, it's to kind of let them know, like, hey, that was towards you, or this is for you. I'm communicating towards you. It's just a gesture of engagement. Some people call it a burn, or in the culture we call it a burn.
Yeah, I don't want to say this, but yeah, burn or call out. But I'm just saying, in today's society, people don't communicate. Everybody wants to get in a fight. Crazy stuff happens. Guns, knives, whatever. Imagine if like the little kid did a call out and the other kid didn't even react. Our biggest problem is from reacting. So how many adults need to be called out and not react, and they go, oh, I can actually communicate with other people. There's other humans. You know what I mean? So I mean, dude, it's huge. It's huge. Like even seeing the little things from the first one. Real quick, were you thinking biannual, or are you thinking annual for that type of event?
I mean, from the response that we got, we got to go quarterly, man. We got to. These kids they're hungry. Yep. They had the best time. And what we effectively did, John, on this one, again, there's a lot to process about what went down. We had over 200 people there, man. what we effectively did is we created a lower tier, if you will, community that will build up into some of the more talented and higher level competitions that we have here, and yeah, also ultimately the Olympics. So that's what sporting does, and that's what I believe. If I can recall the Olympic mission, because I did my studying into the Olympics, we know it's the pinnacle of human achievement. We know it's been around. It's the first sporting event almost ever of mankind. But it's meant to bring people together and to unify different groups of people. And with breaking before the Olympics, we had Russians competing against Ukrainians and shaking hands after, and they're even doing it now to this day after everything that happened. Just to give you, just an idea of the power of what sporting, and especially with the art side of it, is doing right now. And yet, what you said is a big thing. Like, hip hop comes from the youth. So giving the youth tools that we didn't have, because when we got into it, we went to the trauma. It does come from, like what John said, it comes from scarcity. It comes from poverty. It comes from these adverse conditions that, bring about, poor mental health and poor decisions.
Lack of self-worth.
Lack of self-worth, right? So it was a way that people in New York was rising out of that, because they had it pretty bad. But, a ton of conditions, like the 70s was a cool era to live in. I mean, if you guys know anything about the 70s, right? So they did have that going for them, but they used that, and they were resourceful with 70s culture as a tool to be able to step out of that and express themselves. A lot of people, like what you're saying, as adults now don't have those tools. So what we're doing, me and John, and a ton of people are doing this, and it's such a beautiful time right now in hip hop, is we're educating them, we're training them, and we're giving them a platform to be able to express themselves in a constructive and positive way.
Yeah.
The point you made was, I can go up to somebody and I can give them the psychological feel of fight or flight, and they have an opportunity to rise above it without anyone getting hurt at the end of it. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine if wars could be settled on big, with no one dying, no one losing their land, their homes, their lifestyles? It's some powerful stuff, man. And we seen it this weekend. It was so powerful and incredible. Me and John were texting back and forth. Man, you remember this happened? Like, oh, I forgot about that happened, dude. That was so sick when you mixed that. So
I'm still on a high from this weekend.
Yeah, bro, it was everything, man. Because I've been seeing these kids for some of them only 1 month. It's super new. It's kind of like a training wheel jam, to be honest. But the feel of it, the spectator side of it, so the sports side, it was all there, man, and more.
The energy was there.
The energy, man.
Energy felt like radiotrons. It felt like, freestyle sessions. It felt
Yes,
like
dude.
the coffee shops that I used to do with like open MC battles, Project Blowed, Lamert Park. It had that energy.
Yeah,
and it was just new kids.
New kids. So typically everyone's like, oh, we got to get kids from Arizona to come to make this a dope jam, because it's limited. It is a relatively new art. It's been around for 50 years. Only now it's really gaining, momentum. But yeah, we were able to create an effective platform that had the excitement. It had we kept, it had the educational component, right? I'm really stoked on the way that worked out. We were able to do the ciphers as a qualifier, and then also opportunity for everyone to earn a point just by being hip with the culture. It comes from the cipher. There's an etiquette to it. If you do a call out, you can earn a point. And then from there, we pick the top 16, and then boom, that's when it gets really, really sport-like. But it translated the way they were gesturing, going up to each other, shaking hands after. It was beautiful, man. Now, that was that side of it. And cut me off whenever you want, because you guys got me rolling right now about it.
No, we let you flow, bro. But I do, real quick, I do want to give a shout out to DJ Earwax. I know he was there as well. With
yes.
Yo, so I've known Earwax since like 2003. We're part of Jimi Hendrix. Shout out to Presto One, Charlie Darker, DJ Havoc, Verse, Silent Johns. so many of my brothers, but so he's active in the club scene out here, right? And he does these mobile gigs like for high schools too. But I wanted to bring him along because I know like with him and we have a team aspect together, right? Like when we get down, we used to do parties on 4 turntables and 2 mixers, and just freestyling. But for him, Saturday was just so refreshing because he wasn't catering to the top 40 crowd, the club crowd. Now, granted, there's a time and place for everything. So, hey, if he's in a club at an MGM, he's got to play what people from Arkansas want to hear, and in Texas, and you gotta make the party pop. So I get it, but for him, it was just refreshing just to be part of some raw hip hop element again, where it was just so fun, and he had a blast, man. Him and I. And so like I thank you, Jason, for just giving Earwax and myself a platform to rock together again. Because the last time that we rocked together was at Taverna, which was 2 summers ago for Fresh Yard Records, and that was the last time we did a 2x4. But yeah, what's dope was like we're bridging. I feel like the elements of hip hop has branched out beautifully, but in like different directions, right? So if you take Graph, like it has its own branches. You take B-boy and B girls, it has its own branch. Same thing with MC and or in some cases it's just rap. There's not even a hip hop involved in it. And the same thing with DJing. But we were given the opportunity to play for a B-boy setting with a DJ mixing / turntablist feel to it. So we were able to expose the cuts over the breaks, those pretty much scratches over the breaks, while the battle was going on, or there was a showcase like from the judges.
Yeah,
we were improv. It was all freestyle.
Let me come in right here because this exactly segues perfectly. So boom, the doors open. Boom bap. Right, that's one of the cultural characteristics of hip hop music from the gate. It's called boom bap. So that heavy bass with that snappy snare to it. So real kind of chill, like everyone come in type music, and he gave the experience, right? So you come in, you feel that heavy bass, the energy's building. It's not overexciting, it's not anxious, like a lot of faster beats can give, right? And then as we get into the cipher, you mix it up really good. Oh man, there was a few times I had to turn, like I'm trying to focus. I'm keeping the score. I was running the NYBA leaderboard, which again, there's 3 events where people could score, so it's there's a lot to it. But I had to break focus a couple times. I had to look back at the DJ like, oh,
let the music play.
And yeah, you were mixing like these classics with a modern type beat or a different beat that gave it just that nostalgia, but yet that drums. Energy. And that sensation that we like from hip hop. And this is why there's another topic, but real quick, originality is important. And then the element of the unexpected, that's what it was. So it was a nostalgia and like, oh, I didn't expect this to sound like this, but I know this. Perfect. For a DJ, that's what we want right there. That's how you get the best out of the dancers right there. When you can tap into that nostalgia a little bit, and then it's like a new sensation with it. Boom, new moves comes out. That's the phenomenon of freestyle, and the beauty when you're combining the different elements the way it was. The last thing about it, real quick, you played that Rakim joint, and I was like, oh, the swear part is coming up, and he scratched over it, and it just skipped right past it. I was like,
skills, bro. That's skills.
I was with Rakim. I was like, it's coming, and then I was like, yes.
What I love about Rakim is he never cusses in his songs, but when you listen to his lyrics, you feel like he's like yelling at you and just like beating you up, right? But he never cusses. But on Know the Ledge, so that song is special to me because that song is about knowledge, right? When you see the song title, just Know the Ledge, but it's about knowledge. I know those lyrics like the back of my hands because I play it for my kids all the time. So even if I'm in the car and when the hook comes, because I'm knocking out, I take the volume knob and I turn it down in the car, and then I bring it back up, just like like I'm playing for a crowd. But when I'm playing like here, if I have my turntable set up and they're rocking to it, I know when that comes up. So all I did was press the reverse button. And it sounded like it was a censored version of it, but I I wanted to play that song because I forgot to play it at that first battle that you invited me to DJ for, Jay. And then this one I forgot to play Big Daddy Kane tracks because I just forgot to put in my folder. But
so real quick,
the homework I got to do.
Let's drop some gems real quick because hip hop is a different thing in this day and age. Not to say it's a bad thing. It's definitely different. Hip hop does come from the revolutionary and rebel mindset, and then knowledge first, right? Educating people that in the 70s, that come from crack, right? They come from all these conditions and stuff. Hip hop was a way of uplifting people and empowering them with knowledge, skills, artistry, and all these things that transcend any barriers that come from you socially. That's what hip hop is doing. It's different now, but boom, you hit it right there. Rakim, Daddy Kane. Give me some other ones, and we're talking 80s right now too. And you can jump into the 90s, but if you don't mind educating us.
Man, I mean the drums. I mean, you could even dabble into like electro funk, right? It's just a certain type of energy. In the early '90s, another track I forgot to play was Swaying King Tex, "Follow for Now." Follow for now, follow for now, rock the hell. There's just, I mean, there's so many. Like, I mean, if you look at BPMs, which is beats per minute back then, like in hip hop, like if you look at Big Daddy Kane tracks, a lot of them are like 105 BPM, 110. Whereas nowadays, if you turn on the radio and you listen to rap, not hip hop, you're looking at like 60 BPMs. There's a darker frequency, in my opinion, and it was designed, man. It's not. It didn't just come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I wrote a paper in college, guys, about the Telecommunications Act of 1996. That forever changed the landscape of media, which translated into the arts. So have you guys heard about this?
I don't know it exactly, but I'm
sure.
Yeah,
not exactly, but I know what you're talking about.
Vibrational, sure. Probably like programming, like TVs are the same thing, right? It's a programming machine.
Well, look what happened after that. You said mid 90s.
Yeah. So
look what happened with the West Coast and East Coast.
Yeah. So you had native tongues, right? That was like the black medallions, no gold, that type of stuff. So that was like late 80s going to early 90s. But then you also had your NWAs coming to play the West Coast, the gangster style, right? And in 1996, an act came into play where a corporation could buy out. Now I'm just gonna speak on radio terms because but this also translates to just about any media that's out there. A corporation such as like say Clear Channel or Viacom, they could buy out competing radio stations. So if anyone were to listen to radio 1996 and before, I could tune in to the Bay Area radio and it sounds like Bay Area radio. I could tune into LA radio and it sounds like LA radio. I could go to Houston and it sounds like Scarface and the Ghetto Boys. Same thing with Philly to New York to Miami. It was very it was those markets. And in the Bay Area, the hip hop / urban stations was Wild 107, which is now Wild 94.9, and KMEL. Growing up, KMEL to me was a little bit more R&B and hip hop, right? Whereas 94.9 or back then was Wild 107. It had their R&B, it had their hip hop, but it also had like the freestyle, it had like the more of an upbeat tempo. So if I was in a certain mood, I'm like, oh, I want to listen to some like expose or like, some Latin freestyle. I'll turn on the Wild 107. But once 96 comes in, now that organization could buy two competing radio stations. And now those two radio stations are now part of the same beast. Now you multiply that by how many markets there are. Back then we could listen to a 50 song playlist, probably 50 different songs by like 40 different artists. 10 years ago, it's probably like, 15 songs, 15 different artists. Nowadays, I mean, in my opinion, radio is dead. But if I were to turn on a radio right now, I think you only hear about 7 to 10 artists, whether it's country, whether it's rock, whether it's hip hop.
Curated.
We're being curated and programmed. So there's radio programming. So we're actually getting programmed by what is cool and what is supposed to be hot. Whereas me, because I've always been out the trunk, independent hip hop, like, coming from the Bay Area, I always teach my kids like, hey, be conscious of like, no, you got to know the dark frequency so that way you can see the brighter frequency. And I want them digging for their own information for themselves, for their own music, and just give the middle finger to the Telecommunications Act of 96.
Yeah, 100%. I think
All markets sound the same now. You listen to radio stations, they all sound the same.
it always goes up. Anytime, like in human history, that there's been freedom for people, for expression, for pretty much anything, there's always this dark force. But like, as above is below.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Duality.
Yeah, you can't practice medicine without finding like the poison and then developing off the poison.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's literally what a vaccine is, or what it was, unfortunately. But like you need a defeated virus, right? So if you find the worst things in society, if you can kind of package that and show it, people can learn off that and then see the other side.
Yeah.
But if they don't see the other side, then whatever they're being told, they're just automatically
consuming it.
Back.
Yeah.
And that a little bit touches on like what I was talking to Jay back in the day, like about like STEM schools, and it's good to teach, but like it should almost be mandatory to do critical thinking. Like home ec, how about critical thinking 101?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
How about balancing your own checkbook? How to be on budget? Like, the school systems.
That touches perfectly, I think, on what we wanted to talk about, and not only financial literacy, but specifically like financial literacy when it comes maybe to breaking, but also as the breaker gets older, right? They got to be practical. They're going to have a normal job, because only next year is the first Olympics of breaking. Right. I would hope that in 10 years we look back and we go, dude, I'm so jealous of this like 13-year-old that's making $100,000 a year with their breaking YouTube channel. I wonder what kind of empire they're going to build. You know what I mean? Rather than like what square peg are they going to get put in for a job they might not like? It's going to change the whole world. So it's dope to be here like a day 50 instead of a day 5,000. You know what I mean? But yeah, please, if you could touch on the financial literacy side.
Yeah, I think, this topic, it could really go over a lot of people's heads, but I think to kind of like make it more accessible and digestible, knowing the difference between an asset and a liability is huge. Another term is, on certain, some of my previous like Instagram posts, like if I have a video or if I'm like hosting a real estate meetup, whatever, I always put like create over consumption, because I'm a firm believer that the more that you create, right, the more you're creating positivity into the universe, and you're not being suckered in by the information that's being literally force fed upon us by pop culture, by the media, by the Hollywood, the politicians. But knowing the difference of turning a seed and growing it into a tree versus like a banana peel that'll just like biodegrade like into the soil. It's the same thing with, in my opinion, with investing. So with my group, we invest in apartments and self storages along Texas and Arizona. So we work with a lot of passive investors and operators and syndicators, and we literally take down $20 million deals, but as a team,
and
right? And there's a bunch of my videos, podcasts that I've been on, and like meetups that I host, I always ask people, like any newbies, like, would you rather own 100% of a little ass grape, or would you rather own 10 to 30% of a massive watermelon, right? Because when you're when you're going towards like taking a bigger deal, it's easier to team up with other groups, other eyeballs. Whereas if I'm just like focusing on one investment, yeah, it's great. You get a lot of equity on that one property, but it's harder to scale. It's harder to grow because you're just thinking about me, myself, and I, right? Which is cool, but you won't be able to keep growing at a certain point. But if kids could just understand just assets versus liabilities, and there's a great board game by Robert Kiyosaki, and I actually have it, so we play it with the kids. It's called the Cash Flow board game for kids, and so I read a book called Cash Flow Quadrant back in 2020, and it Can I cuss on here or keep it clean?
No,
yeah, go ahead.
After the first 10
So-
minutes, we're free to go.
Yo, that book fucked me up, man. That shit fucked me up for the good,
Yes,
because it got me to really question myself and how the educational system, it really it blocks you in.
Sure.
I mean, the educational system is from the Rockefellers, right? And they're known for building factories and having, people in the manufacturing line.
Yep.
They're building the same way when it's elementary school and, all pretty much all the way through the university systems. Like, it's easier to get approved for a $5,000 credit card in college on top of your college debt than it is to get a freaking business loan or a freaking loan to buy some real estate. Think about that.
Yeah.
That's messed up. It's like it's already designed to be for you to dig out of a hole as soon as you get out of college. So like there's a lot of things that me and Tony, my wife, like we discuss all the time, is like, if my kids, if they want to be a doctor or a lawyer, engineer, then yeah, you know what, the university system, hey, by all means. But if it's another major or another craft where you don't have to accumulate that debt, I think I'd rather do that, because by the time they're 18, 19, 20, 21, I already know my kids are going to have some real estate, because I'm already planning towards it. So that way ultimately they learn the lingo of like investments and growing, rather than just consume, buying the fresh pair of Jordans that is the same design from like 1995. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or maybe
buy the price at that.
Yeah, I mean, nothing against Jordans. I mean, like, shit.
No, I'm saying maybe buy them, but maybe have like a second pair that's your dead stock that you maybe flip.
Yeah, you can flip, or I mean, I tell my oldest Desi all the time, for like certain stuff that she thinks is tight or like it's very popular. Now I ask her, I was like, is that company public? Do they have stocks?
Buy a share, yeah.
Buy a share of it, so that way you could monetize the hype while the hype is there.
And now you could buy fractions,
Yeah, so just fractional, yeah.
She could be putting her allowance into Nike or whatever she wears.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll always tell a funny story with Ace, man. This is probably like, I think this was last year or whatever. So we went to a Dollar Tree store and I bought him like a pack of like, it was like a roll of stickers just for $1. And even before that, I was already telling him, I was like, hey, try to turn $1 into $1.30. Just get 30% out of it, right? Just see how you could grow.
Yeah.
Man, this fool, he was selling the individual stickers for $5 a pop to his classmates.
Nice.
But it was also a lesson learned, because I was like, yeah, you could get some sales out of it for $5, but it's just a matter of time before the market corrects itself, and then now you're back to like the regular market value. But I was proud that he was already thinking that mindset, just to grow the dollar.
Yep. Yeah, the flip is huge, man. Yeah, I mean, do you know about Gary V?
Like, oh yeah.
I mean, I'm a huge fan of him, but I think like a true supporter of Gary V is somebody that at a certain point doesn't even have time to listen to his stuff anymore. And he says that, you know what I mean?
He's outputting. But
I'm just saying, imagine this youth event that BTR is doing, that 9 Doors Down is collabing on. Imagine it grows to something to where the youth breakers are like, let me see if I can make time for the quarterly event, because I have all this breaking stuff going in a different state.
Yeah.
It's just going to spread like wildfire. So I think, Jay, what you touched on, that it's going to be quarterly, it as crazy as it sounds, it should almost be monthly as after 2024, because of with sponsors and timing, and these are kids, right? So, Deuce, like your kids are probably scheduled. They have this class, this practice, this school. And
I live from my car, Roman. I literally live in my car, man.
We just spoke about this guy's driving. What are you doing at 40? I'm driving.
I'm in the car.
You need to invest in some seat massagers for the car.
Yeah.
So you can, TLC while you're waiting. You know what I mean? Man, no, that's huge. But I'm just saying, really, after 2024, the speed of growth of the media, the value, for sure the sponsors. I mean, how many companies ruin their balance sheet by going woke? They're all going to go.
You know what I'm saying?
Look. Bud Light ruined their thing, right? What is the first thing Bud Light did when they changed their CEO or marketing, whatever? They're now the main sponsor for UFC.
UFC, right.
So how many companies are going to go youth, breaking, kids, culture, hip hop? And I could put in a third, a fifth. I could put in 100K where we normally do 1 million. So it's just going to feed, you know? So like, I think it's important for us to try to guide people into a certain direction, because once enough money comes into breaking, exactly the same thing that happened in the 80s is going to happen again, where it's going to go commercial and it's going to get away from the roots of
pimped.
it. Literally.
Pimped out, yeah.
So real quick, what do you think is a way that we can maybe avoid that? Because old episode Pro and Profo One and Jasoul were talking about that, and they touched on it, but I'd love to hear your opinion on it, man.
Man, you know, like
Enter.
it's I could only control what I can control. You know what I mean? I could only influence whatever platform gives me the influence. And I think at least from my eyes, is just going back to basics and just showing the DJ and the break-in fundamental, right? Of just being engaged with one another to form something really big and magical.
Mm-hmm.
just showing the love and the passion for it. That's something that that I know I can control. If I were, perfect example was Saturday, right? But I think ultimately it's, gotta ride the wave while the opportunity's here. So if this Olympic wave is the wave that gets more youth into it, by all means, great. But also know that, you're gonna have culture vultures out there. You're gonna have some corporations that are gonna try to pimp it out, but that's when ownership of your entity or your business really comes into play. So rather than being dependent on the promoter, rather than being dependent on, whatever sponsors, if we could do it ourselves and raise, just raise capital through sponsorships and just do it ourselves, it's that Bay Area out the trunk mentality, man. It's like slanging, Too Short and E40. They were slanging albums from and Master P from their trunks in the Bay Area. They would, at that time, they would rather go ghetto gold and just sell a couple 100,000 copies versus the millions and millions on a big label, because their share was much greater going out the trunk. And so if we could take that entrepreneur spirit and do for self, we don't have to be, we don't have to be dependent on these other corporations to put on a platform that we know the fuck what we're talking about. We're in this, Jason's heavy, with the youth and the breaking scene. And for me, it's funny, man. I was telling Jason, I was like, this has done so much more for me than I could have ever imagined, because since 2019 and then when COVID hit, I'm not active in the clubs as well. I don't really do mobile parties anymore, because I'm not that DJ who will cater for every single crowd. Like in my younger days, yeah, I did it for the money, but nowadays I don't have to do this for the money anymore. This is now just me being just passionate and for me, it's so refreshing to be around these kids, and I get to do me and play the breaks that I want, and I get to cut it up how I want. I get to juggle it up how I want, and the kids are open to it. To me, that's priceless.
Yeah.
And just sharing the joy, that I think that's most importantly. Just got to share that joy for it, because if somebody has a joy, they're going to be lifelong students in it.
So yeah, I think, if I'm getting your question, and then and John as well, what John did is he learned about financial literacy. He learned about investing. He learned about networking. And, with 9 doors down, with what he's doing, he created a lifestyle where he could return to the roots of why hip hop is there, what it did for him, which is giving back, connecting, and keeping it kind of away from like what you're talking about, what happened in the 90s, right? everybody, I mean, it's stepped away from the original uplifting, peace, love, unity, having fun, and you're bringing it back. And you've seen it at this jam. The parents are having fun watching. You know, you look at the expressions of the parents, not only the feedback we were getting, but yeah, I mean, it took diversifying, you know, his approach as a, I guess, I mean, we live in a capitalist society, so he learned about business.
And just like anything, like there's good and bad. So in you could have crony capitalism where, like, all right, no, I'm not down with that energy, but if you were to, you know, give back through what you know and what you've earned for yourself, then, you know, the libertarian side of me is like, I don't want government telling me what to do. I don't want, you know, I just let me live, let me be free, and just know that I'm not out here to try to harm other people. You know what I mean? Outside of that, like, yo, like just let the people live. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's a whole nother rabbit hole we could go down politically as well. That's a whole nother episode.
Yeah, we try to, here at Gearheadz, you know, we try to dig into the culture, not dig our own graves. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Amen. Amen.
But real quick, I mean, touching what you said, I mean, the fact that there's countries like France that subsidize the arts, right? I think it's important, you know, even though I personally don't own real estate, like real estate is one of the best ways to transfer wealth, to gather wealth, to have something making you money, because people will pay for something they need all the time. And most people need to live every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's in the
the
very foundation of the pyramid. You got to have a safe place to live, and right. God's not making any more land.
So I think, like, for us to be not originators of the culture, but originators of saying that this breaking thing could be like moved forward in a positive way, and when the money comes in, maybe directed towards a way will allow us to see who the bad apples are.
Yeah.
In the advertising, but at the same time, it could allow you, as you're growing your real estate thing, you have a marketing budget, you can now, through you and all the groups that you're working with, since it's not just you're talking about massive wealth, being able to subsidize art in America without the government. And hopefully that pushes the government to go, we've kind of been dicks for the past 50 years. Let's try to do better for American people. Let's subsidize the arts with their own money, which would be nice, instead of whatever they're doing with it. You know what I mean? So
that would be beautiful.
Yeah, and you know, I'm trying to keep it on G level. But Jay, what do you think? I know we touched on a couple things.
Yeah.
Is there anything that comes to mind, like something you think we should cover that we haven't covered just yet?
Yeah, so just so everyone's clear, yeah, breaking is about to debut in the 2024 Paris Olympics. Everyone's talking tidal wave to step up. If you have something important to add in guiding it, that is kind of our role as culturalists as well. It is going in funny directions. We see that also, but it's also 2 years after that, it's going to be in the Youth Olympics again. It was already in the 2018 Buenos Aires Youth Olympics, and it was the most viewed event at the Youth Olympics. But yeah, so everyone is kind of anticipating that wave for the 2024, but 2 years after that, it's going to be in the Youth Olympics. What's happening culturally right now in the cultural landscape of breaking is, man, how are we not going to get taken advantage of, like what you're saying, like what happened in the 80s? And how are we going to be self-sustaining and monetize to where we don't have to change, you know, and be influenced by people outside of the culture in a way that's going to take it away. Again, the answer is kind of what John was saying right here, bringing it back to the youth, bringing it back to the community, and then, you know, the fun side of it. Building community is the answer. That's kind of what we're doing here. Again, the jam that we threw, it was kids that's been breaking for 1 day a week for at most 2.5 months.
Yeah, just
and they didn't need to fly. They didn't need all the skills for it to be an effective spectator event. The spectators were there.
Jay. That's
it's
wild, man.
Yeah. So no one's done that yet. So it's going to take things like that, the actual work. And, you know, the bigger topic as we're unifying as a DJ and a B-boy is how do we carry the tenets of hip hop into things like adulthood, finances, business, passion, giving back, building community, and all. It's about what you're saying, knowledge, and a part of that. I think we could say that it's how to ask the right questions. And I think one of the right questions that you teach your kids from what you've been talking about in this podcast is where is there room for innovation? Understanding what's happening. Okay, if we're being controlled right now, okay, cool. So how do we take it out of the control? Okay, oh, we tried that. It didn't work because of X, Y, and Z. We need money. Like, people gotta play top 40 music because we gotta survive. And we understand the technical side of it, the tools of it, the foundation of it. It's easy for us. So playing top 40 is way easier than, you know, like all these other things. I think I've never done it.
Probably
But
less creative.
if the music,
I would say less creative.
less
Yeah.
dimension for creativity, for sure. But yeah, like what you're spreading to your kids, and I'm going to take some of that as well. And I want to have my kids hang around your kids a little more on the off practice days too, man.
Yeah, we
just
gotta
being around you guys
we
in
gotta do
general,
that.
because that mindset I try and, you know, get my daughter on. She's a girl, you know, growing up in this day and age. So yeah, she does, like, I see her influenced by pop. I see her like, oh, wow, I want to do that, Dad. And I'm seeing somebody doing. I was like, oh, is it because you just seen that person do that?
Yeah.
Or are you really intrigued by it? And
It's that fine line, man. It really is that fine line, that balance that you gotta find, because you can't force feed, you can't preach anything on other people, especially the kids. You know, it's just all we can do is just plant the seeds. And if our seeds happen to be these jams, Jay, we're doing something right, man.
Yeah, for sure. It's pretty much that. You know, there's a tidal wave. What Deuce Ace is saying is having knowledge and awareness of, you know, what's happening, and educating his kids personally, giving us examples of that. I actually wanted to ask you, you know, I had a couple of questions too. So you said, you know, one of your solutions, and I guess, you know, things that you want to talk about is knowing the difference between an asset and a liability. Can you give us a common list of both of those?
Yeah, you know, like for a liability is pretty much something that once you acquire it or consume it, you're not really making any money off of it. Whereas an asset is buying something that offers a business opportunity, right? So like, man, like, I mean, but you know, buying a pair of shoes, that's an immediate liability. Buying a car, you know, it's a liability. But if you're using that car to, you know, run Turo, you know, rent out your car, which I currently do, you know, now that car is now more on the asset side, right? Because I'm generating income off of it. When we first moved out here to Vegas, me, my wife, and our partner Anthony, we rented out 2 houses out here, and we did an Airbnb arbitrage. So we told the owners of the house, like, hey, we're you know, we'll pay you slightly higher than what market rent is, because we knew we could 3x what we were paying for the rent. So if rent was like 15, you know, one of the houses was like $1,500, and one was like 2050, but we knew each property we could bring in at least $3,000, $4,000.
Easy, yeah.
You know, but that's that was an asset class that I learned. I was like, you know, you could make some really good money off of it, but there's a lot of headaches that goes along with it. Actually, Jason, he checked out one of the homes because someone flushed one of those plastic shot glasses down the toilet. So we had a plumbing issue that weekend, right? But you know, whereas on the asset side, like, this is when I like commercial real estate, because I could invest in a property and say, we'll just say we'll say 100 units, right? The way we underwrite it, the way we buy the property, we know we can make the mortgage payment even if we have like 30 to 40% an occupancy, so we can pay the mortgage.
No
now,
revenue.
Yeah, but now if we're hitting like 89, 92, 93% occupancy, now we're just generating income. But if I add value to the property, like put in a dog park, put in covered parking, things of that nature, I could generate more capital out of it. And if you take that by the cap rates, like here's another example. You have a home, and just say you have 2 bathrooms, right? And you install one of those high efficient toilets. You're probably saving $40 a month roughly on the water bill, right? But if you were to take that $40 savings now to 100 units, and you do the math, that's how much money is being generated just on the business side of things. But on the equity side of things, you take that number, what pretty much your take home is, and you multiply it by the cap rate or whatever it is at the time, to say 4.5%. A $40 savings could generate millions in profits.
Could you describe cap rate for just people that don't know what
Yeah,
it is?
so for example, like, if I'm looking at a certain area and it's a great area, or a new building, the cap rates may be a little bit lower, so it'll be maybe like 2.5%, 3%. Then if you go look into in a rougher area where you need more renovations or whatever, cap rates tend to be a little bit more, maybe like in the 5 or 6% range. But in a nutshell, that's how you generate money from real estate. With single family, it's a little bit. Oh, did Jay fall off?
No.
Oh, okay.
I think he had to answer his daughter or something real quick. So
okay.
We'll be right back.
But like, that's so I started off in single family rentals as well, right? But you're so dependent on what the home has sold within, couple mile radius from you. Whereas with commercial real estate, I could force the appreciation, and I'm not so dependent on the surrounding properties, because it's just all about the business model at the end of the day.
Sure. And the revenue. So
revenue.
Something huge, man. I mean, what you just said is like that same knowledge, right, that you are imparting on your kids, that you're teaching people. I think you even mentioned, you have an event coming up. I think it's called Passive Wealth Theory Through Apartments.
Yeah, Passive Wealth Through Apartments. So it's pretty much it's the first Tuesday of every single month. It's on at SG Bar. It's pretty much like the 215 and the Flamingo. And we typically meet from 6 to 8, 6 to 9, and we invite guest speakers, just to talk about their experience with commercial real estate. But more importantly, that's your opportunity to potentially find future business partners, is just through these meetups, because talking to others with investor or the entrepreneurial mindset, it's very limited, right? And I mean, I don't know if you had this experience, Roman, but when I first started with 9 Doors Down, like I had some of my closest friends and family just immediately doubt me. Me, right? And I still go through that, whereas if I'm posting something on the DJ tip, like I'll get all these likes and stuff. But if I post something on 9 Doors Down related on my personal page, my same homies who would like my DJ stuff, they won't like my real estate content. But I'm okay with it. It doesn't faze me, because I'm still gonna create. I'm still gonna go out there and do me. But we have these meetups so that way I could have immediate discussions around those with the same mindset. And it's just really just a creative mindset, which is, to me, very similar to hip hop, man.
For sure. I think it's people's innate thing for ego to try to protect themselves, but that when society feeds that ego, that fear spills out into everywhere. And it's not so much that they hate you. They could love you.
Yeah.
Still do exactly what you just said, only because they're fearful of you becoming someone that they might not recognize.
I think,
I remember you as a person that had nothing, and it's not maybe they want you to stay that way. It's just, who are you going to be if not the person I remember? And then wait a second, if you change, you just put a spotlight on maybe I should change, and that's super uncomfortable. I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? Jay, welcome back. I just want to touch real quick on something. So when you're saying the asset and liability, man, I think it's super important to say that asset and liability goes into social relationships too.
100%.
Just money. You know what I mean? Can you touch on that real quick?
Yeah, man. It's like, everything is energy, in my opinion, right? You could either, you could absorb the energy, whether it's good or bad. And, just I just totally lost it. Roman, what was the question again?
Yeah. So what we're talking about, the benefit of having like knowledge of finances and knowing assets and liabilities. How does that compare when you have a partner, like a boyfriend or girlfriend, that is a liability?
Yeah. So when you're dealing with like a liability, quote unquote, personality,
Or an asset. I mean, I'm just
or
saying.
well, I'll start from the liability side of things. Like, you're only the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most, right?
Yep.
So if those 5 people, they're out there, just doing drugs, just getting faded, playing video games all day, like you're gonna become the average of that. Now you gotta ask yourself that question: is like, is me hanging out with these people, is this a liability or an asset? And when you really look at it, like, it could be a liability. Whereas if like, for example, my wife, for me, she's the biggest asset in my life. She's the one that got me to open up to being an entrepreneur. She wrote it out with me through thick and thin. Like she's seen me like kind of grow up as a man, as a father, and as a husband. So certain relationships now, I look at that as an asset because they're giving to me a lot, and I have to be very consciously and move with an intent to be thankful, to count my blessings, and to truly recognize that. And me meeting Jason, that's a big asset, because for one, my kids are learning something through Jason, which just happens to be breaking in hip hop, right?
Yep.
But if it's a teacher or like a coach that they have good interest in you, then that person, in my opinion, is an asset, because they're helping promote positivity rather than destruction.
Yeah, I mean, for the whole thing from Gary Vee, I think the biggest thing that I ever saw him say was, it's never a bad time to start a good business. And then if you don't want to spend so much on marketing, or if you're starting in a place where you're like, dude, how do I get out of this place? They're responsible for what's going wrong with me. This is the reason why I'm not successful, blah, 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 blah. You could always just add more value than you take, and you infinitely grow, right? Like, but what you're saying, I think, is to be grateful and present, so that you can be conscious enough to realize that maybe sometimes people can give you hella value that's not money.
No, yeah,
And that's
totally.
not exactly something to you. Just being around somebody, like Jay was saying, when you're around someone, they could just connect you to another business opportunity. I do apologize. I'm gonna grab that real quick.
No worries.
Yeah, guys.
I think it goes down. It simplifies it in my watermelon analogy, man. It's like, rather than just thinking for self with 100% of a grape, go big, man. Take smaller pieces of ownership, but you still own it. But now you're conquering bigger and better things.
It's hard to see, especially people coming from hip hop. Again, it does come from scarcity. Typically, it's hard for people to see that bigger vision.
Yeah, and you can't force feed it.
Yeah. No, and like a lot of people are like, oh, my students. A lot of people, they're stealing each other's students in different ways and different tactics and stuff. They're using business tactics basically within the culture. But yeah, this is one of the things that's, I think, preventing or slowing down the true growth of what hip hop is, and it is for the community. I do believe no one's thinking in the realm of collaboration, and is building off that analogy you made. When you said it to me, I'm like, damn, it's eloquent. That's a great way to put it. Like, people are like, oh, yeah, I have 30 students, and I don't want that person to go to that. I don't want to have only 29. I want to have 30 and more. But instead, like, hey, I have 30, you have 60, we have 10 over here. Let's get together and let's create something. And we're talking about under 100 people. Let's talk about Vegas in particular. There's 3.2 million people here. If we have only 100 practitioners, we're not doing it. We're not growing it, and we're not spreading
scarcity mindset.
Scarcity mindset, yeah, for sure.
Instead of abundance.
Yeah, I mean, for me, what's gonna address that is people getting them out of that scarcity mindset. Like, let's get funding for this. Let's get everybody paid what they feel like they need.
How about a living wage?
What's that?
How about a living wage? Just for them to not worry about the basics. And now if they want to make all the money in breaking, the basics are covered. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So. But no, if we unify and we get this, we create a watermelon, if you will, instead of having our own individual grapes, let's get a watermelon, because there's a big youth community that could really benefit from what we're doing. And you guys seen it this weekend, man.
And again, as an outsider into this breaking world, Vegas is on something else, man. There's multiple schools. I could go to the Bay Area right now. I could go to LA. There's no schools teaching this. I mean, shout out to my homies at Unite Cultural Center, my Mighty Zulu King homies, Devious and Rock Swift. They have their community center out in Canoga Park, California, where I used to take the kids. But other than them, I can't think of any other school that's even teaching this, to the youth. So Las Vegas has a unique opportunity, man. Like you want the competitiveness amongst different schools, right? You want that because that competition, it drives greatness out of everyone. But we can collab on certain things. It's okay. Yeah, we just collab.
Isn't the root of hip hop let's build?
Yeah, let's build it. Yeah, and so maybe in that sense you got to have a DJAF mentality, man. Like, let's build something greater than what we can do individually, just for one event. And you're gonna have your set of students, and Jay, you'll have your set of yours. And I mean, I've gone through that through my investment career. Like when I'm talking to certain investors, and this just happened to me 3 weeks ago. I'm talking about $100,000 investment, but I knew that the type of investment that this lady that I was talking to, I straight up told her, I was like, because I know you now, and we built a relationship, I recommend you going to one of these other investments that my other homies are sponsoring and hosting, because I already know it's better for what your situation is. And I know if I were to do that, and short term, it sucks. I'm like, okay, that's $100,000 investment that I just lost. But ultimately, because I was doing the right thing for her, that abundance will come to me in different areas. And it doesn't even have to be money. It was my way of giving it, not be greedy. I'm going to introduce you to my homies here. They're going to take great care of you. It's just you guys. It's a better marriage.
Yeah, it's what builds your brand equity. So by doing that, you just grew 9 doors down brand equity without having to do much, but go, hey, bro, can I give you some revenue too so you can eat?
Yeah.
And I'm sure he's going to pass some back at some point. But this is the same thing in breaking, right? I think I did have a question for Jay, but how dope would it be, for there to be competing youth battles, even in Vegas alone? You know what I mean? Where maybe there's sectional youth battles into, like you said, Jay, whoever can get certain schools, just like me with CBD and having products in certain stores, it's relationships, right? But at the end of the day, all those youth battles is a farm system for possibly a massive Las Vegas adult breaking league, which we kind of touched on a little bit. And then, with it being 18 and up, sponsors alcohol, possibly cannabis, you know what I mean? Millions of dollars, and hopefully in 10, 20, 30 years, we're going to get it to the F1 level, Rolex, Bulgari, all those, Gucci, all that kind of stuff. Because they're going to come in and they're going to say, unfortunately, all we know is how to pay for culture. We don't create it.
Damn. Wow, that's heavy.
You know what I'm saying? We were touching on hip hop and stuff. Me and Jay, before the show, we were talking about Dapper Dan and Logomania and how he went to Africa. He saw, he's like, dude, there's a whole society's run by symbols. Oh shit. All society everywhere since Egypt has been run by symbols.
Oh man, Roman, we could go on another podcast episode with what you're talking about right now, dude.
Oh, we'll have you on for sure. I know, just from hearing you talk for a little bit, man, you sound like a real good dude, you know, and somebody I want to definitely build with as well.
Symbols are everything, man. Symbols, and if you could see it, you could see energies behind those symbols. And there's certain symbols that have also gone perverted to mean a negative connotation, when ancient times was actually a positive symbol.
Sure. Swastika.
Yeah.
Hinduism, all that. But I'm saying, even Jay was just saying, literally his daughter is looking into the world and going, there's a symbol, or maybe there's a person doing a thing, but they're only doing that thing because of a symbol. See what I'm saying? So it, like, creating that root, I mean, it's a butterfly effect. This youth little breaking thing, yeah, it might help, you know, the sponsors, because they are like finally supporting, like, to get a law firm, to get I think Truman, right? Jay was one of the
orthodontics. Yeah, Truman Orthodontics. Yeah,
it's a legit company. You know what I mean? They're netting million plus whatever. I'm just saying, for them to be doing what they're doing with teeth. So, you know, those are already legitimate brands. You know what I mean? What's it for Nakvi injury law, for Demopolis injury law? And those guys are like, Demopolis is he has a class action lawsuit against F1 that they're about to launch for the locals that got like they paid money for a thing, and they just got told to go home after 5 minutes of it. You know what I mean?
Damn.
Because the pothole thing or whatever. But I'm just saying, big money is going to start coming in, and the catalyst will be the Olympics, I think, for sure.
Yeah, I don't think alcohol is going to be anything involved with that.
It could be kombucha, right? Like, it could be healthy alcohol on that side.
Yeah, for sure. I get what you're saying, though. I mean, they're mega, right? Like alcohol brands, they're super mega, sure. And it is getting to that level. And right now we have Red Bull, Monster here in the States. Abroad, yeah, you do have like these other brands that are sponsoring big events. You know, these watch brands, these you know, tech brands and stuff like that. Jack in the Box recently has been.
Can we get a healthy?
Yeah. I guess they don't have that type of money yet, or maybe marketing strategy, whatever it is. But again, us as practitioners and, you know, really coming from the culture, we're the ones that are going to have to build it that way. And it takes things like this. The current base, the current base right now are people out of dance studios, right? It does come from the street culture, from the rebel culture. But right now, where it's growing is in the dance studios. And it's an awesome thing. And, you know, there's a lot of incredible camps that come from the streets that are, you know, guiding this new generation in the right way, you know, with the etiquette of it, with the cultural side of it, which is the music, the history, and then also the sporting side. But yeah, you know, it's going to take, you know, this isn't the only answer, but I think it is one of the main things that we're seeing right now brewing. Is the right people. They're sacrificing jobs, lifestyles to make it happen. We got some people that are just, you know, straight up like, oh, it's never Olympic wave. That's just hype. It's not going to happen. Breaking isn't going to go there. That mindset is anti-hip hop, I think. Because, you know, if we're thinking about innovating something that's never happened before, which is what we've seen, that is one of the characteristics of hip hop. Being resourceful, being original, innovating. It takes like, oh, okay, it hasn't been done before. Why? Okay, cool. This because of this. Okay, so where is there room for innovation within that approach right there? What hasn't been done before? Everything about what has been done or try to happen. It seems like a logical approach to it, but why did it fail? And how can I make it better? You know, that's the mindset that, you know, me and John were passing to our kids, and the mindset that it's going to take to get it to where it's going to be. And because it's happening, we will see all that happen very shortly. That's interesting. You said it should be a monthly thing. It was supposed to be a monthly thing originally.
So, like a cipher.
The cipher, yeah. So all city elements.
Structure, you know.
And me and John, we gotta, you know, gather about this and kind of get the planning going with that. It is going to be all city elements, and this is going to be a cipher, totally free for the community, where they can come and just vibe and bug out in its natural element, where there's no guidance. Kind of like what John said, but on a less attached level and a less intimate level, how he lets his kids come to class and just, okay, here, be put in the fire, so to speak, be put in this, but it's safe, and kind of figure it out. That element is kind of missing also from the scene. Everything's super, super hands-on and guided, but we want to give that in the original form, which is connected to the DJ, the visual aesthetic of it, which is graffiti art or visual art, and then the MC as well. We're going to tie this in and bring it right back to the Vegas community, all city elements.
And with the cypher events that we want to do, Roman, it's like, again, it's like bridging the gap between DJing / turntablism to the breaking, because even the DJ itself, it's branched into so many different directions. Like, you have non-hip-hop DJs nowadays, right? Mm-hmm. But if we could bring that cypher element, like, I'm looking forward to the moment where you see a natural battle around Pride go down in the ciphers, no judges involved. Right. And it's just maybe a couple guys, or a couple kids, or maybe a crew. They got beef with each other, and they're calling each other out. I'm looking forward to see that.
I mean, they probably both are going to say, "Yo, we got you on that," and they're like,
"Yeah,
what?"
Yeah, and but then that'll just create so much more memories, and it'll foster creativity and greatness in those structured battles. It's just the pride element when it comes to it.
I think a huge thing is, like you said, the art, right? Like the tagging specifically. It's just another way for people to express their rebellion, against control. Something dope that I saw that I think would be so valuable in your guys' type of events, especially the 18 and up, where it's a little more acceptable to be spray painting and tagging. When I went to Kushstock, which is a cannabis event, Alameda, maybe?
Oh, Alameda, California?
I want to say Alameda, but it might have been Adelante. It had a baseball park. I can't remember the city. I only went one time, but what was so cool is that it was an outdoor event, and Jay's even said that there's been outdoor breaking events all the time. But what's so dope is there was a metal chain link fence surrounding the property. They hung cloth all the way around, so the inside of the chain link fence was all custom spray paint, and it could
canvas
be down. Yeah. It didn't defame anything.
Right.
It was like, we want you to spray paint here, and 30 artists. That made the event, dude. It was dope. So I'm just saying, imagine some sort of, hey, if you want to spray or here's the thing, and then we're gonna take this thing, have the DJs and the judges sign it, maybe have the winner sign it, and we might raffle this off to whatever, the NYBA, I think. Right?
Like the final product that me and Jay are talking about. We're not reinventing the wheel. This was going on like in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. It was going. I mean, I used to when I first moved down to LA, I DJed this thing called Higher Grounds with my crew, Music and Strength, and it was me playing for MCs originally, but then it attracted poppers, it attracted lockers, and it attracted the b-boys, and so that's how I got introduced to the dance world, was through that event. And then I had my boys MIG on canvases, just doing live art. So we're not reinventing the wheel. All we're doing is just showing that, hey, these elements, it's meant to commingle with one another in the hip hop culture. It's okay to branch out and have these, have different subcultures within that element, but we can still bring it back together for that one big ass watermelon.
Yeah, as long as it's unity and not division.
Yeah,
I think that's huge. Yeah, no, for sure.
Jay, just baby steps, man. Just as long as we're creating and just like having good intentions for the community. I don't see any negative stuff coming out of it.
Yeah, Vegas is definitely becoming a hub. Jay, what's on your mind?
Yeah, no, I came up in the 90s. So what he's saying, we did not reinvent the wheel. I came up in jams, and what that means is, there was all four elements present. It's funny. What I remember of MC battles it wasn't like what it was. It is today, and if you watch it today, it's incredible. Like the creativity of how they diss and essentially burn their opponent is next level for sure. But what battles were when I came up, and maybe you can tell me your side in the '90s too, was there was a moderator in the middle, two guys right here. You'd be like, all right, it's your turn, and then the moderator guided the freestyle. So there could be no premeditation.
Yeah.
Right now, you can see premeditation, and again, it's dope in its own right.
You don't even hear you don't even hear beats in some of these MC battles. It's just like acapella. That's another thing we could address too.
Yeah. No, but it'd be like, okay, hat, boom. The guy would just start freestyling. Yo, the hat is gray. I'm over here. I gotta tell you, it's been all day since I've seen this, and he'd point something else out, and he would literally have to react to what's happening. So in that sense, it did have to prove his spontaneity in that side of it. That's how MC battles were. While that was going on, some of this would be indoors as well. They would graffiti. Most times they would do the graffiti the day before, air it out, and the next day they would come in. So all the walls would be muraled in a venue.
Yeah,
and
true.
then all the other things would happen. But yeah, we did come up in that era, and it's something different right now. It's organized tournament style, which is dope. I like the way you put it, Deuce. How it came from here, but it branched off into different things and its own thing. But yeah, bringing it back to that, bringing back the tribal side of it in a way that's positive and constructed. That is a cipher battle. That is like having the individual kind of deal with what they have going on inside. So it's like, man, I'm frustrated today, or hey, I don't feel that good. How do I deal with it? I could shell up. I could just kind of, deal with the other end of the spectrum of human emotions, which is, depression and things like that come with that. Or I could step up into this and I could be like, oh, well, yeah, like I said, that guy looks familiar. This is my psychology. And it's, okay, oh, that guy's wearing Adidas too, because that's what we rocked, Oh, he's wearing a suit. Oh, he breaks. Oh, he's Filipino too. Oh, okay. Oh, and he's from that side of the island. Okay. Hey, what up? You break, man? Okay, let's find out.
Yeah.
And then the battle starts there. And yeah, in Hawaii, it does kind of come from like that fighting culture. I did fight a lot, like coming up until I was 9. That's when I started breaking. And after that, I never needed to, because I had a positive way of doing it.
You release that tension,
that tension, and that adolescent tension and energy. And yeah, some of the people I called out and battled, we became crew. We became friends. I was networking for the first time.
That's how I met Earwax. We battled each other at school.
Yeah. There you go. And that's what we want to try and bring back. I mean, it's not I don't think it's an easy task because of what's popular, but I think what's interesting about the generation we're in now is we have parents like myself and like you, where we know we came up listening to hip hop.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man.
But we own our own businesses now, right?
We own our own businesses.
Yeah, we're a seed of 50 years of hip hop. And it's in hip hop's in the age where you have grandkids. Yeah, maybe even great grandkids.
Yeah,
it's just
it's cool, man.
Natural elevation, man. And I wanted to ask you also, let's like, would you or the other schools here in Vegas, would you still have these breaking schools if there was no breaking in the Olympics?
Yeah, I was teaching already, outside of it. And when you're at a certain place within your own dance, like people seek you out, right? So that's one of the natural paths towards like going into this. And that happened with me too. I was sought out to do it. I was like, okay, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I've mentored B-boys as well with BTR breaking. Yeah, I'm going to be honest. A little bit of it was that's my entrepreneurial mindset. I owned a couple of businesses leading up into the announcement of the Olympics. Now, what spawned it and made me kind of really dive into something that I wanted to grow, and with scalability in mind, is I got kicked out of a crew. So I'm like, oh man, I don't have a team right now. Okay, cool. And COVID. When COVID happened, everybody was dropping tutorial videos, and I'm like, that's not right. And I have X, Y, and Z reasons based on over probably triple 10,000 hours of experience. I've been breaking for almost 30 years now. And I can confidently say I have, like a triple master's in what I'm doing. I'm seeing all these like younger kids dropping. I'm like, so hold on, you're saying this, but when you demo it, you're not doing it. That's the first thing. Like, how long have you been doing it? All these things that just didn't make sense. I'm like, okay, hold on. Let me put some information out to help people avoid plateau, injury, all these things that, one of the common trends I picked up on is people will start breaking for about 5 years, or they'll start breaking. They'll try it because of, personal reasons, whatever it is, because they don't have confidence. They want to be cool. They want to get a girl. Those are things that I found out that I was tapping into without needing it at a young age. But people are wanting to do that, but they end up quitting because it's hard. Yeah. The process of adapting your human body for anything physical is hard. There's no, way to sugarcoat that or, make that.
You got to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah. But what we do is we use first principles of science and biomechanics specifically, which uses physics and the human anatomy in what logically makes sense. So we train the arts from the body first rather than the radical mind.
That's why as parents, me and Tony were drawn to you, because it wasn't just breaking. It was like the kinesiology, like the movements, the muscles, where you want the tension. And I always remember when Ace looked like a noodle. And when you said noodle, it made perfect sense, because he didn't have that push or that explosive pull. You know what I mean? And he's slowly, progressing there. So you see it from a scientific approach as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you know the verbiage. That's all it. That's what I'm looking for, and that's what we train. Is we reverse engineered the foundations of breaking. And let me just tap into the foundations real quick. The foundations, as we discussed and we all know, is something sound and solid that you can build off. For me, it's like what has been built off infinitely. So that's the first thing that we identified. What foundational moves from top rock footwork, power moves, and freezes has been built on infinitely and allowed people to create their original style. So we did that. And then, when I say reverse engineered, we did that from the ground up. What's happening from the ground up in your body? How are you integrating your entire body to do that? How are you creating space in the places that's needed where you're not grinding your gears? We know all the common injuries, me and my brother. He's a partner in what we're doing, but
shout out.
Yeah, I don't want to get too deep into, what I'm doing with this right here. I have a ton of information about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of what we're doing. That's different. And so what you said is, would I be doing this if the Olympics hasn't been announced? I don't know the answer to that. I do know that throughout the waves of what's been happening in breaking and in my personal life, becoming a father, needing to provide, travel a good amount, and I lived on couches a fair share to develop my craft into where I am now. I did all the sacrificing. I think I eventually would have. This streamlined it because of certain variables that I spoke about just now. And it was my responsibility, as a practitioner. I've seen people fall out because they didn't make money. They weren't doing it. So they're like, oh, okay, this isn't it. But I always seen the value in the cultural practice that kind of like what you're doing with DJing. We're big kids.
Yeah.
You're still DJing and you're doing it for your kids and you're showing them. You're like, hey, look, like it's not this end of the spectrum and it's not this end. You don't have to be starving artist and you don't have to like negate your passions to accrue debt, essentially. Go to school, right? Do the typical path. There's a middle ground to it, and when you merge it, it's beautiful.
Yes. Yeah. And in some cases, man, I don't even think the university approach nowadays, it may not even be worth it, man. It's, some of the things that they're teaching in schools, there's a lot that I just don't agree with. And, we thought about homeschooling the kids for a second when we first moved here, right? But at the same token, I was like, you know what, kids, embrace the suck, because if you embrace it, you could learn from it, as long as you're proactive in combating that darkness. Because if they're seeing a little bit in schools, I mean, they're gonna see it when they're adults. So at the same token, I don't want to, hide them from and shelter them from, some of the bad stuff that's out there.
Yeah, I mean, so one of the benefits of universities is it teaches you how to collaborate. It teaches you how to abide by a schedule. To be on it, there is valuable things about it.
Yes,
but I think it should be taught earlier on. Those typical things of how to be productive. To wrap it up in a neat term, being productive, right? It takes certain things. College does teach people that, but there's other things that is very, very important that should be taught on or at a younger age. Financial literacy is one of them. You were talking about actually starting a school with that, right? Or investing, or
we have a school. It's a school of 9doorsdown.com, or you can even check out the Instagram. It's a school of 9 Doors Down. We don't teach the basics of real estate, you know what I mean? Like the difference between single family homes and self-storage and apartments. If someone were to approach me, I would refer them to some of my other friends that has 500, 800 students. And one of those groups is a Wealth Genius, which I'm about to be a coach for starting in January.
Hey, sorry, real quick, John. Is that correct down here? Is that schoolofninedoorsdown.com? Is that correct?
Yeah, schoolofninedoorsdown.com. Okay, so with our school, we literally coach on how to raise capital for just about any investment. It just, it happens to be a lot of us, my students are in real estate, but a lot of it's marketing and sales, man. It's just and how to be confident in pitching your deal to potential investors, or pitching your B-boy jam to potential sponsors and an investor to grow the watermelon, right? So that's why one of the immediate things that I texted you, Jay, after the battle was, yo, what are the sponsorship packages? I got a couple investor homies that want to sponsor future jams because they see 9 Doors Down on, and one of them is my student. So his group is Berry Creek Financial, and I'm coaching him up to be louder on social media, to get his brand out there, engage more with the community. And I told him, I was like, when you're sponsoring these events with B-Boys, I was like, look at the sponsors. You see attorneys on there. You see educational programs. You see orthodontics, and you see my real estate investment group. I was like, you want to rub elbows with the parents that are the movers and shakers of society. Yep. And it just happens to be around hip hop.
Yeah.
Decision makers, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the creators of the world, man.
And who's not going to be happy to work with you if their kid's happy,
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't think there was a single soul that had a bad time on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, you had those ones that didn't qualify. We did. That's why we did create the 2 events for it. It is a big part of the kind of the training wheel process of educating them on cipher etiquette, how to understand that, hey, it's not just about the tournament. That is kind of the pinnacle for this division, so to speak. Is, hey, if you train hard and you're taken to the art and culture of it, there's actually that platform for it. But hey, in the ciphers, hold on.
Yeah.
Like, you're not being judged on what you're doing per se, but like, you can vibe out with your crew. The first event was a school specific. Tune in, look at what you guys get hype on what they're doing, feed the energy, stick to the rhythm of what's happening, tap into that, your crew right there. That crew vibe is, in a lot of the jams that I've done internationally and nationally as well, that's how we set our tone. We go in with our crew like this, and then boom, we boss the circle, basically, is what we call it. And if anybody comes in, they get called out. But
I want to ask you this about crews. Yeah. Crews were important for us because we didn't have the internet. You know, I learned how to scratch and mix by listening to, you know, Revolution on KMEL. And then it wasn't until like I got my first hands on a VHS, you know, for DJ battles. So I was watching a lot of Junkies and like Invisible Scratch Pickles, right? But I had a crew growing up. So mine was KFC. It could be Cryogenically Formed Children, or it was Kids from Cali. Like we had so many different names.
We know what Roman's thinking about.
But I had that crew. And as far as the DJing side of things, I don't really see much crews, DJ crews these days, especially like the kids that are coming up. Are you seeing the same thing in the breaking world where because it's so accessible to learn on the internet that setting of like being at someone else's house or people coming over to your garage for the next 3-4 hours, like are you seeing that in the youth, or is it very individual style of learning? Because that's you know, outside of the Beat Junkies Institute of Sound, like even with their students, I don't even know if there's even crews forming out of it, just the way that people are learning art forms these days.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of both, and then we see a hybrid as well. And when I say that, so yeah, you do have the people that either come up in studios or the parents are friends already, and then one kid likes it, the other kid learns it from, you know, the other kid. They develop, they build, they find out other kids there. And then you do have that as well, where it is the person that learns online. They naturally have like that insight, that genius insight. They're like, wow, I see what this is. I see what's currently happening in other sports. You know, for whatever the reason is, they're like, oh, that sport didn't click with me, or, you know, there's X, Y, and Z that, you know, just doesn't fit my vision of logic and reality, but this does, because it does play towards me being an individual. And then you get those that grow into, we have these individuals that came up on their own that join and form a crew after a while, because, and that, to me, that's the more organic way to do it.
100%.
And it happens like what we said, like, oh, okay, let me test this kid out right here because of whatever reason. Let me test him out. Oh, he's oh, he made me better. I like that.
Yeah.
He held me accountable in a way that didn't have any false notation on this interaction, meaning, you know, you have those friends as well that are like, oh, okay, I can benefit for this reason. Okay, hey, come here. Hey, yeah, come here. Type stuff, right? It's more like, nah, this guy thinks he does it. Okay, I'm going to test him out. And, oh, okay, yeah. The outcome was great. Where do you live, man? How long have you been breaking? Okay, cool. So there's a hybrid of it. And I don't think we see people, now there's some bad things about it, about their crew dynamic. There's good things, but some of the bad things about it is when you're in a crew, you adopt a central mindset. So if I were to give any advice, make sure that, you know, if it's for kids specifically, make sure it's kids that are aligning with the same values that you were brought up around. Don't get misled. Oh, this kid's cool. He moves great. I think I could win some things with him, because that's not going to last long.
Right.
And if it does, it's going to bring you down a path that you probably don't belong.
That character you
look
look
for your
for.
true potential.
Right.
So, and I know you didn't ask for advice, but I want to say that. Now, the benefits of a crew, when you do find, you know, the right fit, you guys vibe out with the same values within art and life also. You hold each other accountable.
Yeah.
It's like for me, I grew up scrapping my brothers. You know, I have some brothers. They held me accountable for certain things that I had to sift out the hard way. Getting a bloody nose, getting socked in the stomach, which is one of the worst feelings in the world. There that brotherly love side of it, where they hold you like 100% accountability. That's why I like Roman too. Roman will call me on my shit, like, no. He'll stop me in my track. Oh, no, but this. I'll be like,
I'm trying to tone that down. You know, I'm trying to be more friendly. You know what I mean?
So Roman's kind of, you guys are my crew right now. I'm gonna put it out there. We are the 5 people we hang out around.
Yeah.
And for me, like, we're all business owners, so we help each other out, and I'm down to help you guys out in any way. And I seek value from all of you guys equally.
Same. Yeah, it's
so the crew's evolving.
Knowledge is infinite, man. You could never stop learning, man. It's like I don't ever want to be the smartest one in the room, because if I am, that means I'm not I'm not really learning,
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I mean, there's gonna be times when I'm gonna be, teaching, but ultimately my goal is, I want, say for example, one of my students, I want them to be much better capital raisers, more successful than myself and 9 Doors Down, because I want that. And while I'm doing that, while I'm teaching them, I'm actually creating more partners, potential partners down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think like touching on that, I think a lot of communities, a lot of counties, and even their like boards don't understand that, all right, like you should subsidize this because kids that have Pinecrest Academy crews or whatever, more schools, crews, whatever, Coronado, which is a big high school, crew, whatever. And then how about every kid is now able to be a part of something rather than 0.001% goes to the NFL, right? Or whatever. Like, how many people are going to need shirts, flyers? Like, you're just feeding printing businesses. You're feeding other local businesses and like inspiring innovation in other industries just by creating a demand rather than people maybe in the 80s or 90s that had displaced angst and lack of self-worth and took it and got sucked into gangs, drugs, because the gang and the drug made the person feel like, dude, you're special. You have worth, but only in our gang.
Yeah.
Did you hear that dude attacked our gang, attacked our family?
Yep.
Shouldn't that threaten your worth? Go do something illegal,
Yeah.
So, but with this, you're going, hey, here's an avenue for you to compete. Go. You don't want to say go burn someone, but I'm just saying, like, if you burn them and that's the worst thing you did to them, bro, you just improved society. You know what I mean?
Yeah, hip hop could save lives, and there was a pivotal moment in my life. I remember distinctively. I was a junior, and I was already a couple years into. I still didn't have my own turntables, but I would always go to my friends, right, to get on the decks.
Mhm.
And one of the guys I played basketball with was a super talented Filipino cat. I remember in 9th grade that dude was like touching the rim already. So like, this guy had hops, he had skills, right? But he was like second generation, part of a Filipino gang out in the Bay Area, and I was good friends with him, but I never ran the streets with him because I was always more fascinated on learning how to scratch and like juggle and like different stuff with the turntables. But he I remember one Saturday morning he called me out of nowhere and he was like, "Yo," I was like, "Hey, you want to be part of KMP?" And I was like, "Oh man, bro," I was like, "Nah, man, I don't gang bang, man." I was like, "Dude, I play baseball and basketball, and then I go home and I touch the turntables, man." But I will always remember that conversation because that could have been a turning point in me. Like, and I wasn't hanging out, like hardcore, like on the streets with knuckleheads, right? But I could have easily said, like, "Yo, okay," like, yeah, that seems kind of fun. And around that time in the '90s, dude, I was around like Vietnamese gangs, the Norteños up north, and Filipino gangs and stuff, and but I always stayed away from it because my parents kept me busy in sports. And then as I got into my teen years, it was sports, and now I was like, I was I was so fascinated with the art form of DJing that I didn't care what else was going on. I remember there were times when even when I was like going to junior college, when me and the homies would be out like at a friend's house at like 11, 12 o'clock at night, and I was like, you know what? We're doing the same things that we were doing when we were like 16, 17. I'm gonna dip out real quick. I'm either gonna go to the gym or I might just touch the turntables. And it was always those isolated events
that
where
outlet, yeah.
it was that outlet. Like I didn't need to express my happiness and my angers and my sorrows on the streets because I could do it through these speakers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the older I got in life, like you learn how to control your artistry and control it in a way where now you feel more expressive. Like when it comes to DJing, you don't have to be the most technical person in the world to express yourself, but you do have to learn the fundamentals so that way you could like learn how to hold the paintbrush and how to hold the piece of paper, right? Like those things, like there's certain lessons in DJing you got to learn. But at that time, I was more fascinated of learning the fundamentals, not because I wanted to be in the clubs, not because I wanted to be in a DJ crew or whatever, but I did it because I was just like so fascinated by the art form.
That's intelligence that you spotted that right there. As a discipline, that's what you're talking about. Like, you're like, oh, I'm so fascinated about the foundations of it. It's like, you know, the holding the brush analogy. Like, who would be fascinated about that?
Right.
And DJing is hard. Like I said, when I came up, it was all 4 elements that we were exposed to and educated on with panels. So I dabbled in all of that. Graffiti is hard with a can.
Yeah.
DJing is hard. So yeah, to understand that it's a journey. I'm
gonna grab something real quick. Hold on.
A discipline. Yeah, that's incredible.
So
Roman.
So here's something I want to show you. So this is my son just scribbling stuff on paper now.
Sick. The doodle.
He's just doodling.
But
he's his drawings are amazing, guys. And it's funny because like Ace, like I see him as such an artistic person where he could touch an instrument, you know, he could draw. But now, a couple of weeks ago, he was like, Dad, you know what? I know why you like hip hop and why you listen to it, because like it's very funky and you feel free. And I was like, right? I was like, but again, like I never force fed it on him, because when me and Tony were in the cars with the kids, you know, years ago, I didn't really play hip hop. I was playing a lot of like island reggae and like, you know, Hamilton and Tony's a little bit more versed when it comes to like more of the popular music. But but if the kids were in the car with me, I would play clean versions of like Nas, Dilated Peoples, and just like kind of like exposing them. But for him now to start to see and explore the hip hop element, and Jason has been a huge help with it, because I now could be kind of hands off and let him explore. But yeah, for me, just seeing like his doodles and stuff, like it makes me proud. So now I got to coach him up, like, yo, you don't necessarily want to go out bombing the buildings right now. I was like, you know, I'll get you all the canvases that you need. Like, you know, you don't need to, you know, to go on walls. But if you get to a point where now you get a commission piece and now you could go on the wall through your arts, you know, so be it. But you don't have to go on the freeways, man.
That's the same thing. You're giving him an avenue, man. So, you know, real estate, mental health, breaking, business. You got to give people an avenue so they don't turn to that lesser thing.
Yeah.
And if every avenue that you're providing gives people self-worth, I mean, infinite success.
Yeah, and we have an opportunity to really like affect the future generation, whether it's only in the, you know, whether it's like 100 kids at a time or like even just 5 kids at a time. It just takes to touch that one soul, or maybe 10, 15 years down the road. Now they're doing some pretty incredible things with their lives, but now also sharing that positive energy with the community.
Yeah, I think I think you touched on it perfectly, man. I mean, what you guys are doing is pretty dope. I am a little pissed I wasn't able to make it. I had to open up the shop, but we're going to be working more and more on getting a little bit more freedom, a little more versatility, so I could be there too. You know, one thing I did want to touch on, you know, that type of event, like you said, you felt that energy, right? And that was kids just starting, so you kind of saw, man, we're creating something. But whether they know what they're doing or not, the energy even the kids bring to the floor, it spreads, right? That whole room was packed. It was bouncing off the walls. So I want to give a shout out to Ninja Karaoke. It's a spot downtown. And, you know, Jay, did you introduce me to it, or?
Yeah.
I think we were just down there like
on a first Friday. Yeah, they do the battles down there on first Friday.
Dude, unreal. Like I'm telling you, I was center dance floor DJ booth of Aoki, Avicii, David Guetta, like all these guys. Doesn't even compare. I mean, some nights like Swedish House Mafia, like some people that even passed away, like in Avicii, when you see him live, it's like, man, that's really dope, you know? But dude, nothing compares. I would choose that dance battle every time. And just sitting there watching, not even being in it.
Yeah.
I got crazy energy for the rest of the month.
Yeah.
As compared to being in a club in someone's table that just I know is dropping 2K. I know they have a goose and a whatever. And I'm like, this is okay. This is cool. But everybody's putting on a show. At the dance battle, the show they're putting on is to give you energy, not to take it away.
Yeah. It's creating, right? Yeah.
Building.
Creating versus consuming. Yeah.
You know, and the bar makes money. They do it genius. You know, I think Arturo, he's the main MC there. You know, he's been doing it for a little while now. So the flow, that's actually something I want to touch on, like the communication, not only between the DJ and the breaker or the dancer, but also between the two DJs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cause like Jay, who are the two? Stahl and who's the other one? At
Cobra.
At karaoke, yeah?
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I mean,
Cobra.
I'm telling you, like, it's to the point of where I'm sitting. Like Jay said, he turned around. I'm sitting, and a song comes on, and I'm like, dude, Google. Google now could pull up a song. Like, I'm like, yo, what is this? And then on the ride home, I'm cranking it.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I mean? And it's been out for a while. I just never heard that song.
Right. Yeah.
But they changed it. So when I listen to the thing in my car, I'm like, dude, this isn't what I heard.
Yeah.
And stop.
That's exactly what John did. Like
they added their own flavor to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I'm saying that energy that makes it all worth it, man. And then again, like that's 11 at night to start.
I know.
Who can show up to that? You know what I mean?
Right.
But now imagine something that no restrictions like alcohol or cannabis, age requirement. And as long as you have, like, as you guys grow, I think the main thing will be the safety, like security, like just a way to just handle little situations. But the fact that you're from youth already presenting them with challenges, like somebody just burned you in your face and all you did was just get him back in a move. It's a way better way to respond.
Yeah. And
when someone cuts you off, they disappear if you don't react. If they didn't car, they cut you off, you're fine. Everybody in your car is fine. They're gone. But if you pull up to them, you're flipping them off, you're doing whatever, it just gets worse. People carry guns. You know what I mean? Like just de-escalate.
Just learning how to win with grace and lose with honor. It's a big lesson for kids. Like
hard to learn.
And in my opinion, there's really no losses. It's just lessons. It's something you say if you lost a battle, like, hey, like you could still go back and train, come back stronger on the next round. There's always a tomorrow. Like coming from the baseball side of things, like I wanted to fail 70% of the time because that means that I'm a 300 hitter. And if you're a 300 hitter in baseball, chances are you're probably an all-star. And you still failed 70% of the time.
That's a champion mindset right there, man.
Yeah. It's I think, my dad was a 3rd degree black belt in judo, and he always talked about the warrior mentality. It's like, you win with honor, lose with grace. You don't go out bragging and stuff. But when it comes down, if you have to protect yourself, you know what to do because you could do it in such a controlled manner. And it translates to everything in life, the arts, even business.
Yeah. 100%. I had a question I was gonna ask you. I kind of lost track of it.
You asked about basically the communication between the DJs. So the arts, that's what's cool about like breaking as well, but DJ also, right? It's hip hop. It's nonverbal communication. So I can burn somebody. That's one of the ways I can communicate. Eyes. All these cues that translates to life as well. The DJs do it as well. They and when everyone has a sound foundation that you're trying to communicate with, the frequency is there, the understanding without even having to talk, look, or anything. When you understand the foundation of whether it's DJing, breaking, that's the code, that's the communication in itself. Nothing verbal needs to come out. And you get things like awesome collaboration, two DJs bouncing back and forth. They understand the rhythmic foundation, the timing of what's happening, and they fill in the space in their own way, and they know when to pass it off smoothly, seamlessly, just like that.
You know, there was a moment on Saturday, Jay, when I think you were teaching the kids. I think it was I think it was like the second battle when you were teaching them. Okay, one side from this, one person from this side goes, and then the next person on the next team goes, right, back and forth, right.
Yeah.
When I was listening to you, I was like, that's the same thing as question and answering, scratching. So like, say for example, like I'm sessioning with 2 other DJs or 4 other scratch DJs. We all cut for either 4 bars at a time, 8 bars at a time, 16, and then you rotate. So that way everyone gets a little piece of the pie. And it's the same thing with breaking. It's like, it's really just a question and answer. You have a response to
the call response. Yeah.
It's a call response.
Yeah. So MC started too, right?
Yeah. MCs too. Yeah.
The back and forth.
Just that back and forth, that communication, and that I mean, that takes time for sure. Like it takes a lot of experience to get that. Like if I was a new DJ and I was DJing that event, I would be so caught up in like, oh my God, what am I gonna play next? What am I gonna play next? Like with me, instead of, I'm not even thinking what I'm playing next. I'm just like, okay, I'm going for like a certain vibe. So I'm going through my playlist, and there was a lot of songs that I didn't play, but I already had it all set to go just for the setting, because I had that experience rocking for b-boys in the past, and poppers and MCs and Gearheadz, and that's something that, I mean, I haven't been in a setting like that, guys, since I think it was like 2011 or something like that, or it might be before that. It was for an event for Natron with Renegade Rockers.
Oh, sick!
Yeah, that was the last time I was really truly in a b-boy quote unquote setting, man. And so I thank you, Jay, for just like letting this bedroom DJ just get a little piece of the watermelon, dog.
Deuce, touching real quick on that, like that event in 2011, right? Like that was an adult event, right?
It was all ages, actually.
Okay.
It was all ages, yeah. But I mean, I've been on Rock. I was on the 2007 Rock the Bells tour. So I was the 3-month long tour. So I've DJed a lot of events. I used to do a lot of mobile, like weddings and like corporate events, whatever. So I know to be successful at that, you have to, you got to be prepared and know your music. And I feel like for me, it's like I don't have to do that anymore, because I'm not really banking on making money through DJing anymore. Now it's like I want to plant the seeds with other people, and especially kids, and just show that, like, you could get down on this, whatever the element is, and you could make your life better, make your community around you better through the arts.
What do you think is a takeaway, like an object, something to preserve the memory of a dope event or dope jam? Other, because obviously the people winning are taking something away, right? The prize, the flyer, the whatever. What do you think is something that like we can even build on to make sure, like, hey, maybe we should have this for people to not even just buy, but just to take away? Because when they were talking, Jay and Pro were talking back, like you said, Radiotron. We had a couple dope guests that were part of that. And they said, "Man, if I could find that poster, from the OG posters, or remember even like a VHS,
shoot, man,
in good condition."
You know what I think would be a cost-effective marketing tool, and I see DJs do this, is loading up a flash drive with a mixtape or something. So I could make it could just be like a 20-minute mix or something, 20-30 minutes. Flash drives are not too expensive.
Bang it in their basement on the
Jay, we could get the flash drives from like Alibaba, man. Get it at wholesale, right?
Yeah.
And then load it up with some images, or maybe a free PDF of like some.
What about MP4, bro? Let's
video.
Get some sound on it.
Yeah,
but I'm saying a sponsor could easily sponsor those flash drives, and then now people are taking the music they heard at the thing back home with them.
Yeah,
when they're practicing at home.
Roman, you just gave me a good idea right now.
Roman's good with the ideas, man. That's
on the next one.
More action.
I'll bring a second computer, and I'll record it directly to GarageBand. Whatever the audio is, everything on the mic, to the mixes, it'll be on there.
audio only.
And maybe it's what you play for the semis on or something like that, or maybe just the finals, and they can have like the MC too. So here's what B-boys are doing in this day and age right now. You know, the whole mental prep side of it, as we are elevating to a higher competition experience and tier, people are playing soundtracks from the highest caliber events where the MC is like, oh, and
Yeah.
so putting that in it and having a kid go home and be like, I want to be in the semis, I want to be in that. Here was the experience.
Gotcha.
Like,
If we could have a videographer that could record audio directly, right? Rather than just like, playing your phone and it's catching the audio through the speakers, but having a direct audio input into with a videographer. I think that's huge, man. Maybe we just, so we do this. We could capture the parents' emails in the beginning of the event for the registration.
Yeah.
Capture those emails. We put them on a Google form. This is what I do with my investors, right? So that way we capture their data, their email information, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Post event, that videographer, we could now put it into like a Google Drive or whatever, and we could literally just send that link to the parents. So that way, hopefully, they'll show it to their kids. And I think the most expensive piece is just like hiring a videographer for that operation.
So you're talking about the video too?
Yeah. So we email the pretty much the video of the event.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sick. Yeah, we actually did have a videographer there, so I'll
word.
talk to him about that.
Yeah, I know there was a bunch of cameras there that day. I didn't know who was.
Yeah.
Who was,
some of the parents
the
just rolled up. I was like, oh yeah, you're Callie's dad. Oh, and you're Brian's dad over here. I'm like,
yeah.
And legit cameras too, like super legit cameras.
But think of that network. One kid, right?
Yep.
Parents, how many grandparents, how many cousins? So like you can get 500,000 people from 30 kids.
Yeah.
From 50 kids. So I mean, it just shows, man, hella potential, just the growth and everything.
And even on the adult side of things, imagine the potential business partnerships you could have with these parents. Because these parents, they're paying good money for their kids to attend these sports, these activities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those parents, they're all businessmen. A lot of them are, maybe not all of them are entrepreneurs, but a lot of them could be like, high earning W-2 employees, and just stand up individuals in society.
Yep. Yeah. No, I think what Roman was talking about was something more visceral, something that they can hold and take with them. So the posters is one idea. I like the flash drive. And, one of the things that I provided on my website for kids, because they've been asking, is just a playlist that they could doodle. Yep. I love how you brought that up, and we spoke about that some time ago. Kids need to doodle. And with breaking, that's basically putting music on and figuring it out. Yeah, they come for a guided structure, and we streamline the whole process and help them avoid injury and all that stuff. But the doodling time is the most essential and important part of it. Now, what do they have for that? If we could provide something like that, like a nice takeaway with a dope design and something, I mean, it might be kids in this day and age. I mean, to plug it into something, I don't know if that's what they use and what they're hip with. I know you can plug those into TVs. So everyone has a TV. They could plug it into the back and then boom.
Or it could just be a QR code we put on shirts. Scan the QR code. This takes you to a YouTube link for that soundtrack or whatever, or for that mix.
Yeah, I think even when you were talking about, you were like the most sound. I think like let's try not to think of that, because that's like limitation. Because with the sponsors, anything can be done. But the question is like, what's the kid gonna love when he's 25, 30, having his own kid? What is he gonna keep, preserve, and show his kid from these jams? Because by then, you know what I mean? Like the Truman guy, the Truman Orthopedics, he was a breaker, and he's incorporating breaking into his marketing. And because of that, their business is booming. You know what I mean? Not specifically, but like that definitely added value.
It brings awareness.
Yeah.
Brand awareness. Yeah.
So it's good for his business as well. I know. So right now we're about like 10, 15 minutes from our cutoff. Dude, this went over 2 hours. It kind of flew, man, to be honest with you.
It did.
I know we're in the beginning stages of this thing, and I think both me and Jay would really love to hear more about like your network and people that are trying to put up money for sponsorships and stuff, possibly even a sponsorship for Gearheadz itself. to get better mic, better camera, and just build this. But, like, I know we would love, whether you were in a one studio type of place where we're in front of each other, maybe me and Jay would love to be guests on your podcast,
Yeah, absolutely.
launch it.
Absolutely.
Just be a different topic. You can maybe talk about just investing or you know what I mean, where it won't be so specific on.
I mean, both of you guys are entrepreneurs, man. That's you guys are already on the other side of fear. Whereas, just there's so many people, so many smart people that I meet along the way, man. Like they know much more about real estate than I do. They know much more than a certain topic than I do, but they haven't made that jump into the unknown. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, because they never took the chance as kids.
Because you're comfortable. Yeah, you're comfortable in your job, your conditions or whatever.
Right. So they got conditioned through kindergarten to 12th grade.
Yeah.
To be scared.
Yeah.
Of owning businesses, which is wild.
It's wild, man. It's like
how there's homeschooling. Like, why isn't there a school that only teaches business, but to only kindergarten through?
Like that's why I think that cash flow board game for kids, man, it's so huge, because the kids immediately learn their personal financial statement, and they're learning assets and liabilities. Like, Monopoly does it too, but I think with cash flow for kids, it just takes it up a notch. And there's this guy Alfonso Quadra, who's also part of that Wealth Genius group from Canada, that he also runs a Quadra Foundation. So his backstory was he's a refugee. I want to say, is it Nicaragua or Venezuela? One of the two. But him and his family ended up in Canada. And pretty much in the 90s, he was the biggest hip-hop clothing retailer in Canada. So you remember the days of the Echo, the Fat Farm, Inichi's, all that stuff?
We had a place called Foreman Mills that carried all of it.
Yeah. So like the mid 90s, the late 90s, the Mecca clothing. Yep. Anyways, he when he started exploring more and more about real estate and getting a touch of success through real estate, Hip Hop Publication approached him to do an article at one of his stores, and he showed up in a suit instead of Tim's and a hoodie. And then he told the guy, he was like, no, this is who I am right now. It's like, you can't put me in a box. Like, yeah, I have this hip hop store, but this is the direction where I'm going. Right. Well, anyways, with this guy, Alfonso, on top of, running Wealth Genius, which he has like 850 students to just learn the basics of real estate in the US and in Canada, he has a foundation called Quadra Foundation, where he's teaching literal investments to kids. So I'm in discussions with him. I would love to bring it out here to Las Vegas, especially with our network, with the investor community, and not just that, but now through the hip hop arts and BTR. But I want to bring it in now to Unite Cultural Center with my boys Rock Swift and Devious for their kids. It's just another avenue of just plant the seed. You can't force feed anything down people's throats, especially kids, but at least expose them.
Let them choose it themselves. But give them the bearing of it.
Yeah, it's just like, even basic things of just like balancing a checkbook, man. A lot of adults that I know, they don't even know how to balance their own checkbooks.
Yeah, or credit card debt, or the fact
credit card debt and interest rates. And I will never forget it, man. When I was in college, the second week I was in college, I signed up for a $500 credit card that I ended up freaking buying like shoes out of it. And so I just realized, like, dude, I bought like 2 or 3 pairs of shoes, but now I owe $500. Like, did I really need that? But I didn't have that mentality back then. And I didn't have it till I was 40 years old, and I'm 44 right now.
But I'm saying, if you paid any interest on that, you probably paid $650.
Yep. I mean, rates. What were rates now? Like 29% or whatever the heck it is.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know how the auto subprime market doesn't just crash. Because you have cars that are literally being sold to, whether it's just cash, impoverished people or whatever, or drug dealers that only have cash, let's just say, but they're putting $500 down, 30%, 25%. That car is 100% getting repoed.
Yep.
So that car that's worth 3, 4, 5, 7K, it made value for 45K. There's no way the market could keep going.
Yeah.
You take a 3K car and somehow steal 40K worth of value. because 5 people got a repo.
Yeah. And
you know what I mean?
And the banks, they make money by dishing out invisible fake money. Like if we only knew what happened with when the Federal Reserve was invented and IRS came in and Woodrow Wilson pretty much took us off the gold standard, that enslaved pretty much the future, pretty much the future of the world, because instead of money being backed up by gold or even like fuel, like in the 70s or 80s, now it's like it's just fiat. It's literally just invisible, imaginary.
Well, it's the
money.
fractional
reserve banking. Yeah.
Take $1 and you lend out $9.
Yep.
Tell that to a kid, they're gonna go, "Hey, that doesn't make sense." You're like, "Yeah."
Yep. And then the solution to that is infinite banking, of now using your own insurance policies, like such as IUL, or like taking equity out of a house to buy another asset. I mean, that's a whole other rabbit hole, but yeah, that's
you guys are getting into the thick of it right now, and this is something that I need to learn about a little more too. I'm from an island, so I keep it really, really simple. I got my first credit card recently, actually.
I hate to say it, man, but I view life as one big ass video game, man. Like I understood the Federal Reserve, I understood like what they're doing. And all that I can control is read the defense ahead of me, so I can plan my offensive game plan. That's it.
Yeah, Jay, I like as we evolve the conversation like into hour 1.5, 2, then we can maybe drop a couple of conspiracies, because I used to the first like 15 minutes. You know what I mean? So
do you know who Sam Tripoli is?
Yeah. He's a comedian.
Yeah.
Is he with Johnny Bravo now?
Yeah, Johnny Bravo has his own podcast, but man, I've
well, doesn't him and Sam? I thought they did.
They do a lot of shows together, right? Gotcha. But Eddie Bravo has his own. But then Sam, man, I've been listening to the Tinfoil Hat podcast for several years now, man, and I mean that's a whole nother rabbit hole, literally a big rabbit hole.
I'll say this, with like people talk about these things that might exist, might not exist, like flat Earth, round Earth. Like the point is you have thousands, probably hundreds of that, maybe millions of people now that believe in flat Earth, but it's not an issue that they believe in flat Earth. Why do you care what they believe in? But it's becoming a religion where they need you to now believe what they believe. But the thing is, if that couple million people that, let's just say, believe flat Earth would just remove it and say it doesn't matter if it's round or flat, we're 100% being controlled, 100% being lied to. And if we can all say that, it'll unify people instead of going, you're this type of person. I'm like, so I'm trying to like break people's like reality.
Yeah. Just like my biggest thing is just question it. Just question it and digging into it for yourself, because you can't force feed anything, but like, hey.
And the motive is to open the mind.
Yeah, just question it. Like
right. You know what I mean? Because I'm wrong a bunch, but ego forces you to go, don't say you're wrong. That's a weakness. Don't show weakness. And the second you do that, now you have scared, like you're fearful and you're more reactive,
Yeah. And hip hop has been pimped out by the establishment. And,
sure.
You just got to question it and see, it's, and nowadays it's sometimes it's hard to tell what's right and from wrong, because I could find so many posts and so many articles arguing one side of
that's part
of
the debate. Propaganda,
Yeah.
The
division.
Yeah, no, but there was a guy that was like the father of propaganda. Can't think of the name, but I mean, if you bombard someone with information, even if it's 100% wrong, enough bombardment will get them to believe it.
Yep.
So, dude, I definitely think we should wind down. I know you're around 12 o'clock. You said was your time limit. I think we touched.
Yeah, we maxed his time limit.
It's all good, man.
Yeah, until 12. I'm like, that's
man. If I didn't have a take a call at 12, man, I could seriously talk to you guys.
That's what I'm saying.
Forever, man.
We'll definitely have you on. Like you said, crew, Jay, like you said, crew, John's definitely part of our crew now. I definitely want to build with you, and I'm a little inspired even to go about the rest of my day, man.
Likewise, man.
Likewise. I have a little too much freedom here at the shop in the ZYNN World headquarters.
Well, that's good. You earned that freedom.
Yeah, but I feel like I need to put myself in a structure to earn the freedom back, because it's been
got it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
How many years have you had the shop?
Going on 3 now, 2.5 to 3.
That's awesome. Kudos to you, bro.
But of course, just rent as it is can chop the legs off a small business.
Yep.
You know, so we're actually ending our lease here and looking for a new location, possibly. You know, I don't want to leak it to any of the customers, but possibly an office to where we'll do delivery online, and then I'll have the ability to maybe go to different states and build that thing. Because I will be the Jameson of CBD. You know, it's just going to take time. You walk into a bar, Jameson's 1 or 2 bottles.
Right.
You know,
right.
There's 100 bottles, but Jameson's $1 billion company.
Right.
Because it's been 90 years, right? Or 80 years since whatever prohibition. So, cool, dude. Real quick, where can people, get all your info from your personal to 9 Doors Down?
Yeah, man. Holler at me, man. My cell phone is area code 818-536-2121.
Okay.
My personal Instagram is at Deuce Ace, so it's DEUCEACE_DJ.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to learn more about, real estate investments, especially like with apartments, self-storages, you could go to 9doorsdown.com. And also visit our Instagram at 9doorsdown. And there's also School of 9 Doors Down if you want to learn how to like raise capital for your investments. And it's also business agnostic. You could go to schoolof9doorsdown.com, and then Instagram is at School of 9 Doors Down.
Dope. Deuce, I really appreciate you joining us, man. Like, this is our kind of like soft opening, to keep it going. So we'll 100% have you on. I just want to thank the viewers. We actually, Jay, surprisingly, back and forth, we had 1-2 consecutive live viewers, which I don't think it's the same person. So, I mean, I'm sure we got like easily 5, 10, 15 people just on the live itself. So it's showing a lot. Real quick, I do want to shout out our current sponsor, which is ZYNNworld.com. They offer relief products. That's not medicine or drugs. It's all natural. And even for some people that might have a random drug test, they make products with no THC. The website is ZYNNworld.com. Make sure you use Gearheadz as a 10% off. Jay, what do you think? How should we close this off?
No, I think we're ready to get on our third days, man.
Sure.
Yeah, for anybody listening, again, this is a crew right here in the building, in the making right now, building up right here. Shout outs to everyone listening. Shout outs to the B-boys and B-girls around the world. Shout outs to the entrepreneurs. We're over here as a resource to help you in any way that we can. And also, like what Deuce Ace said, is we're here to learn and build. So, yep, as we continue to kind of get more guests on and build right here in Las Vegas, I think it's important that we continue dialogue like this. And, yep, Deuce, when you're ready to have us up on yours, brother, let us know.
For sure.
I'll be seeing you tonight, actually, too, at practice. So.
Yeah, I think when you get back from Hawaii, man, we should open up the schedule.
Yep. Everyone, stay posted for All City Elements. This is going to be a cipher, free for everybody. We'll have more information about that coming up as well. But other than that, that's it. That's it on my part.
Dope.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Appreciate you. We'll see you guys later.
Peace.
Have a great night, guys.